What up, what up, what up, New York Giant Nation and sports fans all over the world? It's your boy, MacDaGiantsFan, welcoming you all to episode 11 of the Premium Takes Podcast. And I got my guy, my incredible co-host, Adam Costas, coming with me today, joining me today, and also Zenith, other co-host, unfortunately is dealing with some personal business, so he's not going to be able to make it today. But we'll be back next week, and as this show will be on his channel next Sunday. And we're going to get started with the show. I mean, how you doing, Adam? Anyway, I mean, my bad. Let me see how's your day going, brother.
I am doing phenomenal. Had some steaks. I am ready to go. Free agency frenzy's about to happen. Let's get it, baby.
All right. Well, I just thought we start this show off just with a little something, just because, earlier in the week, Calvin Ridley got handed down a season-long suspension, and it's not even just Calvin Ridley. It's a lot of these other younger athletes. Brittany Griner. I mean, she's in her early 30s now, but she's still, I consider her a young person in life, and she's been dealing with some big troubles also over in Russia. And it's a lot, the list goes on and on, man. You can go to Josh Gordon, other guys, man, other guys with even bigger problems, Ray Rice and things of that sort. These young guys off the field issues, man. Like, I was going to say, how do you feel about that? Because I think personally they just need more guidance, and I think the league should do a better job of trying to guide these young people, these young millionaires, these young kids with six-figure bank accounts. I remember when I was in my 20s and I couldn't imagine having that kind of money in the bank and the kind of things I might have gotten to. So I was wondering how you feel about some of those things, Adam.
Well, I agree with you on there. If I was 20 years old, I'd probably painted every town I was in red, right? So with all the millions of dollars. But I will say this. The leagues do try to provide these guys with, car rides home and counseling if you have a gambling problem. It's whether or not you want to use the resources. I look at it like college, right? When I was on a college campus, there was a career office, right? And if you went into the career office, they kind of guide you in what you were interested in. If you didn't use the career office, you basically had no guidance what to do. So you're out there trying to figure out how to get certain resources, certain things that may help you. So for me, I agree with you. Yes, there's a lot of temptation, but sometimes these guys do it on themselves. Calvin Ridley, I don't feel sorry for him because he got a memo, and I was listening to a podcast with Carl Banks today, and Carl Banks is like, they sent out a memo to him because he's part of the team and part of the players as well to say, hey, yeah, we have gambling in our sport, but don't gamble if it's frowned upon. Don't do it. And so for me, Calvin Ridley gets injured and then drops $1,500 on sports and then loses like $11 million. That's not like, he's like, being like, I forgot we couldn't do this. This is, he had a problem and he needs to fix it. Now, for me, I don't necessarily think gambling is bad. However, don't gamble on your sport. You want to go racehorse gambling? Fine. You want to go play poker? Fine. There's other ways you can do certain things to blow your money and not get in trouble with the league. What he did was bet on NFL games. Now, the reason the NFL is so harsh is they want to believe in integrity, right? So for me, I can't not, and thanks for all those people showing up in the chat right now. It's good to see you all. But we're talking about Calvin Ridley and some of the temptations that come with being a professional athlete. I just think he should have known better, being that the NFL frowns upon gambling in the sport. And I know what the NFL is trying to do. They're trying to be like, well, yeah, we taking the gambling money, but you're getting paid from that gambling money. I mean, what? Aaron Rodgers gets paid $200 million to play football. Where do you think that's coming from? Where do you think that's coming from? That's coming from all those endorsement deals and Caesars that have put together this package for the NFL. So, yes, do I disagree that they should be able to gamble? Yeah, but you can't gamble on your own sport. It really does. Because how do I know if other people are doing it? Like, let's say, for example, Tom Brady. What if Tom Brady is gambling on the sport? I doubt he is. But that, maybe his performance goes down. Maybe he automatically throws the game. Maybe he does certain things. That's why it's bad. The other stuff, with like Ray Rice and guys like that, that's poor judgment. That's something that, you need to fix that problem, because there's guys like Tyreek Hill and Joe Mixon who have assaulted people, who have gotten over assaulting people. But for Calvin Ridley, it's just a different story for me. And, I feel like the punishment fits the crime. You can't bet on your own sport. If he's betting on MLB games, why do I care? It's not his sport. I don't care. But when you're betting on NFL games, that's not good. Mac, you there?
My fault, Adam, man. I'm trying. Give me one more minute. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to get this thing back together, man.
So, anyways, like F. Ray Rice, as Logan says, Ray Rice, he's not gambling. He got banned for basically jaw jacking a woman in the elevator. I mean, you can't do that, right? Gambling, you can't do. And the reason why they gave him a year suspension for Calvin Ridley is because they want to tell the league. I mean, I don't know who's gambling. Again, we don't know who's doing what. You know what I mean? You don't know who's doing what behind closed doors. Everyone has lives. Everyone has issues. I mean, these guys get caught at strip clubs, massage parlors. It's a matter of how far they go and who's willing to expose them, right? I mean, if you've been to a strip club, you know the shadiness and the seediness that people have been there. You know what I mean? So, don't get yourself caught in those situations. Now everybody has a camera. Calvin Ridley literally got caught coming out of the casino. Like, dude, and they have your ticket that you bet on games. I mean, at least, Michael Vick used a different name. He used Ron Mexico for everything he did wrong. I mean, he gave some woman some STD or some shit, and she's like, I'm looking for Ron Mexico. Nobody knew who the hell Ron Mexico was. Michael Vick knew who Ron Mexico was because he did all that. You know what I'm saying? And I think what's his face is saying, curious what happens with Bradbury. Seems like he has some sort of deadline by 3/17 about some money guaranteed. Yeah, we're going to get into all that stuff, Jeffrey. Right now, we're just talking about the transgressions of a lot of these athletes, being that Brittany Griner, who's in Russia right now, not a place to be if you're going to do something illegal, right? You're never going to leave there. But I mean, hey, people go to Mexico. They do stuff in Mexico. They do stuff in all types, all over the place. It's a matter of who's going to. I mean, Michael Jordan was a degenerate gambler, but he is Michael Jordan, right? And he wasn't betting on games and throwing at games. He just, was at the craps table a lot, at the poker table a lot. So the act of gambling, while illegal, is illegal to do it on your own sport. And that's why I think the issue is what the issue is with Calvin Ridley. As for other guys like Ray Rice, he got what he deserved. Don't put your hands on a woman, right? Especially if you're an athlete that's, probably 100 pounds bigger than that girl, right? But the NFL, they will look at those things coming up. For example, if you're Joe Mixon, right? Joe Mixon had an issue coming up. Tyreek Hill had an issue coming up. Now, Antonio Brown has issues. I mean, think about this. Everybody has issues. It's a matter of how you can hold them responsible. Like Max said, if I was 20 years old and had $20 million in a bank account, I'd be emptying it everywhere. Every chance I got, I'd probably be doing it, right? Every city. But sometimes you got to be like, is this the right thing to do? Or am I doing this in a controlled environment? There's guys that get DUIs, right? How are you going to get DUI when you have a car service? You have a car service. Listen, Jeff, we're going to get to all that stuff in the chat, and I love it. Again, we're talking about right now, just so people aren't confused in the chat. I know you guys are having your own side conversation, which is fine. I'm just letting the world know we're talking about the athletes and getting in trouble. Now, if you guys know, LT was a big athlete that got in trouble, but the difference was with him was he didn't have social media. He didn't have the pressures of everything, and he had a coach that covered his ass. Okay, that's a big thing. You have a coach that can cover your ass, you can do that. Calvin Ridley, the problem is that maybe if he lived, 20 years ago and he did this, he probably doesn't have as much of an issue because there's not as many social media people out there. You know what I mean? Not as many cameras to follow you. You're an athlete. Guess what? You need to learn that your life is not private anymore. Okay, you said something in Twitter or Facebook or TikTok or whatever the heck social media platform you're on. Some people are going to look it up and find it. They're going to want to expose you. They're going to want to put it out there. You know what I mean? If you're going to gamble on your sport and expect not to get caught, I mean, come on, think about that. You are Calvin Ridley. You think he walked up in the Vegas casino and nobody knew who he was? I'm sure a few people knew who he was. And then you go drop a note on there about, betting on NFL games. How do I know you don't have so-and-so's number and tells them, hey, drop a pass this week. I'll split the winnings with you. Right. A private message will be exposed, right? I mean, look at Josh Allen. He had a bunch of stuff happen to him in the pre-draft process. Mac, you're back. Are you all set?
Yeah, man. I'm sorry. I'm having all kind of technical difficulties right now. I don't understand what's going on. Thanks for holding that down for me. Hopefully, I can get through the rest of this smoothly.
Go ahead. We're just still talking about the off-season struggles. People have heard enough about me, so let's hear your thoughts.
Well, like I was saying about these kids, man, they just like. I think people got to put in perspective also, man, that these kids they're still kids. They may be like big, supreme, like good athletes and good enough to be professionals in what they do. But the reality is they're still young in this world as young minds in this world. Their mentality ain't no different than any other 20-year-old. Just that they got a bank account and more means to get things done and to be quite frank, in the trouble. I mean, the fact that like a kid like Josh Gordon got, you can't stop smoking marijuana to continue your career, which is a very successful one and a great career.
See, but there's a different, and maybe if you take off your video, we can hear you kind of chopping in and out. But see, the thing about Josh Gordon, where I will dispute, is that marijuana is not a performance-enhancing drug. Yes, it's illegal by the sport, and it's stupid that you get caught because I don't care if a guy smokes pot. It's just know when you're getting tested because apparently they have a memo saying, oh, you're going to be tested in 2 weeks from now. If you are an idiot and decide, well, I'm going to get tested now, boom, then you're going to be an idiot. If you are in the program, they're going to randomly test you as well. So to me, it's about, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing for Josh Gordon. Gambling is different because, well, yes, it's an addiction and yes, it's a problem. Gambling on your own sport, I have a problem with. If he was gambling on horses, I don't give a damn. That's your money. You will do it, you're going to do it. I think what the thing is they're looking at the integrity of the sport being compromised because somebody gambles, who knows what could be in that web. You know what I mean? If you gamble on for example, Mac, let's do it like this. If you're on the Giants and you're injured, now you're betting on NFL games. How do you know you're not betting on the Giants? And how do you know you're not coercing Daniel Jones or Barkley to not have the best game to split the profits or whatever? Because let's be honest, a lot of people bet on the Giants last year. They lost a lot of money. So, if you're betting on them to lose, you probably won a lot of money, right? So it loses the shield, and the NFL is all about the shield. I guess Mac is there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Adam, man. I apologize deeply. Adam, I apologize to everybody out there in the chat, man. I'm having technical difficulties, and I'm just trying to get through this. Adam, man, thanks for holding it down once again, man. To be honest, if you're ready to segue into the next topic, man, we can.
Sure.
I don't really have much more thoughts on this one right now.
I'm done with talking about it. But last thing I'll say about this as you get the next topic ready is it's not like they don't have a symposium for this. The NFL has what they call a rookie symposium. And ex-players and ex-coaches go out there and they're public speakers. And they say, don't do – hell, Chris Carter said get a fall guy at the symposium. Basically, he was saying get somebody to get in trouble for you. You know what I mean? In your crew. This has not been the first time they did this. It's about – I understand what it's about, where you're talking about, Mac, and the fact that athletes at being 20s being dumb, but at some point, you got to be like, Calvin Ridley's not 22, he's 27. You know what I mean? I know what I was doing at 27 as well, but you got to be a little smarter than that. You know what I mean? That's all. And when they have a rookie symposium that tells you every piece of programming and details where you can go for counseling and help and rules to see if this is something to do, I can't feel as sorry for them as I normally would. Now, if you want to get the next topic up or have any other thoughts, the floor is yours.
I mean, I agree. I mean, it's not about feeling sorry. I just feel like people just need to understand a little bit more that these are still young kids and they think like
Oh, no doubt.
the 20-something-year-olds that they are.
No doubt.
But I totally agree. They also do need to just, be more responsible and take the resources that are provided, take them maybe a little more seriously and learn from them. Well, we're going to segue to the next topic here, and let's go ahead and get the wrestling portion of the show going, man. It's been an interesting week in wrestling, man, across the AEW and WWE. You had the AEW, we had the return of Jeff Hardy Jeff Hardy going to AEW reuniting with his brother Matt Hardy. So we got in WWE, WrestleMania has now been confirmed with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens. So it's been a lot going on, and as we know, on Saturday, also on Friday night on SmackDown, Big E suffered a serious injury. He broke his neck and landed badly. This is what we talk about, man. The wrestling, everybody talk about, that's fake wrestling. It's fake wrestling. That's a real broken neck.
Right.
These guys put their bodies on the line.
That's not a fake one.
Big E, fortunately, will be okay. He said he gave a thumbs up in his picture on Twitter I saw earlier. So he's saying he'll be all right. He's going to be out, obviously, for some period of time. With a broken neck, you don't just come right back. But he will be. He said he will be back. He said he's doing good. He'll be okay. And also a legend, we found out Scott Hall is on life support. And unfortunately, that's never usually a good thing. He's been a troubled when he was in the ring and since his career has ended. He's been a lot of struggles with Scott Hall, man, unfortunately. But he was absolutely a legend. Razor Ramon, he's known by many as Razor Ramon. Scott Hall, the Outsiders, NWO. And Adam, what's your thoughts on some of the news in wrestling this week?
Well, first, we're going to start with, I'll take it from the top, the Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy reunion. The Hardy Boys, one of my favorite tag teams growing up. It was them and Edge and Christian basically set the bar for tag team and wrestling going forward. I mean, that ladders match at WrestleMania 17 was probably one of the best matches I've ever seen outside of The Undertaker throwing Mankind off the cage. Right? Who does a spear from 16 feet off the ladder and then falls to the ground? So for them to come back, especially in a division where AEW features their tag teams, I hope they get to a long run. I don't know what their gimmick is, if they're going with the deletion gimmick that Matt Hardy was a part of, or if they're doing something new. I'm not really sure, but that triangle ladder match was, I think, WrestleMania 17, Jeff. It was one of the best I've ever seen. It's one of those things that ignites me. As for the Kevin Owens thing, I thought it was kind of interesting because I didn't think Stone Cold was cleared to wrestle. And I heard that Kevin Owens asked Stone Cold to use his move, and they agreed upon it. So now they're going to get Kevin Owens to get to Stone Cold. This is what WrestleMania is about. This is what I like. I'm hoping, Steve Austin wins. I don't care if Kevin Owens wins, and it doesn't hurt Kevin Owens' career at Kevin Owens' career at all. It doesn't hurt his storyline. You're losing to a legend. So, and then as for Scott Hall, oh man, that was my guy growing up. I loved Razor Ramon. The bad guy, Chico. You know what I mean? Throwing the little toothpick. And then, of course, NWO. I mean, the Outsiders first, and then NWO. He kind of revolutionized a faction, right? Because when growing up, bad guys weren't really featured to win titles and do all this stuff. Right, of course, you had the Four Horsemen, and all those factions, but the NWO, and I would say to GX, but the NWO took one of the most iconic guys in Hulk Hogan and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and made them something that lives on today. You know, and that is kind of interesting because you're legendary. Like Hulk Hogan would have been legendary without the NWO, right? Scott Hall would have been legendary without the NWO, but to do the NWO and have his legacy keep going, and I don't want to talk badly about them, but let's say 50 years from now, we're going to still have the NWO, right? They're still going to be talking about one of the greatest factions of all time, right? Because nothing compares to that. And that was an era of wrestling where they did anything, right? And NWO and DX, D-Generation X, both pushed the limits. And for Big E, the last thing I'll say for that is, I saw the injury happen. I rewound it again to make sure that what my eyes were seeing, and bang. When he landed on his neck, I knew it was bad. And he was lying down. And of course, usually they tell you like he's injured. Michael Cole kind of was like, "Oh, and Big E's injured outside the ring," and I'm like, "That wasn't kayfabe. That was real life." So all those people who hate wrestling say it's predetermined and pre-studied. Listen to what Max said. A broken freaking neck happens to these guys. You don't get a broken neck on Twilight or Days of Our Lives or ER or whatever freaking show you're out there you're trying to compare wrestling to. And I'm sorry if I'm getting a little agitated because it's not the first time people, get mad at people, right? And tell me how corny it is. Oh, well, you're a grown man watching wrestling. Well, guess what? What TV show has a live person break their neck in front of 80,000 people besides football or a sport? Right? What actual drama show has that? You tell me, and I'll listen to it. Other than that, y'all need to stop and take a back seat because you may not like wrestling for whatever reason, but don't tell me that is not real. Okay?
Yeah, we're gonna be getting into football right in a few moments, fellas. Man, just hold your heels. We getting right to it, man.
Sometimes we like to let the show manifest before we jump on. You know what I'm saying? Let us breathe a little bit. We're trying to get through some stuff.
But it just gets frustrating, especially when you see things like this. Like I said with Big E, that's a serious injury, man. Like I said, when people that just dismiss it as fake, when you say, "Oh, why do you watch that fake stuff?" I mean, I just wish you would find a better way of saying, like, it's a TV show. Okay, I get it. Like you said, predetermined finishes and all that stuff. But these guys are basically, they're stuntmen. They're doing you respect the stuntmen you see on movies and TVs and other TV shows and whatnot. That's what these guys are. They're stuntmen basically, essentially. The things they're doing, they don't have harnesses, they don't have special padding to make sure everything's all right. They're really getting slammed on that cement floor when they're getting slammed. That's what they get paid to do, and they take it. I mean, yeah, they have little techniques and things to protect themselves and know how to be safe about these things. But the reality is, they're really taking these lumps.
Right. So guys get surgery. Edge broke his neck. Shawn Michaels broke his neck. What's that guy? Rick Rude broke his neck. Steve Austin.
And that's what ended Stone Cold's career initially. That was ended Edge's career at first when he had to retire. I mean, these guys get beat up, man. But if you don't have anything else on the weekend rest, I mean, I did the pop that Jeff Hardy got Wednesday night when he appeared on AEW Dynamite. It was pretty amazing as well. When his music hit, man, that arena went nuts, man. It was good to see, man. I'm glad to see Jeff Hardy back with his brother, man. Maybe they can have one last run in the sun as the Hardy Boys. Maybe get an AEW tag team title run down there, something cool like that. Maybe coming up the pike, man. That's why I kind of like what AEW's been doing, man. And one more thing I wanted to touch on too. I don't know how you feel about Dolph Ziggler winning the NXT title on Tuesday night. I don't know how to make sense of that.
What was that? Sorry.
How do you feel about Dolph Ziggler winning the NXT title?
I think that's dumb. Tuesday? I think it's dumb. I know that it's going to build a storyline, but this guy, Dolph Ziggler, has been in the WWE for 15-something years. And you're going to go down and win a title that's for like the up-and-comers? I just think sometimes – I mean, Charlotte Flair did that. She won the NXT title. I think, if you're going to make it a brand as the same as SmackDown and the same as Raw, then bring all those guys up. Don't even make it NXT, right? Don't even make it NXT. NXT was supposed to be, let's get the young guys, build their mic skills, get them to the top of the mountain, see how they perform when they get there. And now you're telling me Dolph Ziggler's coming in and stealing some guy's thunder? This is what CM Punk talks about when he drops pipe bombs. And he's like, I hate when these, part-time wrestlers come in and take wrestling. Well, I think Dolph Ziggler, Jeff says he loves it. I understand that you love it, but it's a storyline. But for me, I just like, you have your own show that you're on with Rick Rude every week, and now you're gonna steal the other guy's thunder. I don't know. Plus, Dolph Ziggler to me is one of those guys who I don't know if it's Vince McMahon, but I feel like his career, he should be up one of the best champions of all time. He's won every championship that you can, right? But yet he still feels like a B player to me. So I don't know.
All right.
That's all I got on that.
Well, unless you got anything else you want to speak about with the WWE or AEW this week, we can finally move on to what everybody's been waiting for.
Yes. We buried the lead. The lead is now unearthed, people.
And now we are into it's been a crazy week already in the NFL with trades, free agency rumors. Tom Brady, breaking news. Tom Brady coming back for
Kirk
years.
Cousins, breaking
Season number
news.
23. It's been a lot going on in the NFL this week, man. Adam, man, I'll let you do what you do best, man.
And that is go off on things, right? So here we are. It is the eve of free agency tampering. Not even free agency tampering. And we already have two breaking stories right now. 23 seasons with Tom Brady. He is back. What made him come back? I have no idea. They're going to lose a lot of players in the Bucs, but let's see if he comes back for the Bucs. I don't know if he's personally coming back for them. We'll see what happens there. But what is amazing is that Kirk Cousins, that's right, people. I said that. Kirk Cousins got another $35 million from the Vikings. Are you kidding me? That guy hasn't won a playoff game in how many years, and you're going to give him $35 million on a one-year deal? Vikings, you must be smoking some crack. You must be smoking some crack. I get it. The quarterbacks may not be strong in this route, but you just gave $35 million to a man who just stole 90 from you the first 3 years. And now we got all these different players moving. Let's talk about Rodgers. Let's hit on that. Do we have some time on that, Mac? We can talk about a little Rodgers.
You talk about little Aaron Rodgers, that $200 million that he just signed on the dotted line for $153 million guaranteed. Woo! What's he gonna do with all that money? You're not gonna spend that money in your lifetime.
Woo! Woo! Hey, can you give me some, Aaron Rodgers? I need a loan, man.
Break me off, bro.
$153 million, and he's what? You don't need the State Farm commercials anymore. Bye. Doesn't need State Farm. But see, the thing about Rodgers that was funny, right? He did exactly what Brett Favre did. They gave him money, and he was like the big shoe to drop. Once he dropped, I felt like free agency began, right? Once they knew that Rodgers wasn't available or he was coming back, and then he got $200 million. And, of course, he goes on the radio show and goes, oh, it's more than that. Give me a break. Get off your high horse, bro. Just take your $200 million and walk. Okay, man, take your ball and go home. Nobody cares that it's more than $200 million. Blah blah blah. You won one Super Bowl, and everyone calls you the greatest thing since sliced bread. I got Joe Montana won 4. I'm just saying. With this guy with 1, chokes in the biggest game of his year, complains about his team stinking, and then in the biggest game of the year has a pedestrian game.
One of my biggest problems
before that
with this contract, honestly, is just the fact that sets a new bar. Now, what's Lamar Jackson? What's Josh Allen going to want? If Aaron Rodgers is getting 4-year, $200 million contracts, what do you got to pay these guys now to keep them around? It's just getting out of control, spiraling out of control, man, with these contracts, especially for these quarterbacks, man. I know it's the most important position on the field, but these contracts are getting to be almost baseball-like.
Well, here's the thing, Mac, and we can touch on some of the announcers changing networks too. I think that's going to be interesting. That I'm not going to have Joe Buck, Troy Aikman calling your games on Fox, but these guys get these mega deals, and it's like, well, are you taking a hometown discount? Because guess what? Now you're franchising Devontae Adams, and now you got to gut your whole defense. So now, how are you going to sign your defense? I mean, you're not Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I know people hate Tom Brady, but the man takes money and he gives enough back for his team to do things with. And that's why he's always winning. You got Aaron Rodgers sitting here complaining on the Pat McAfee show, giving me a song and dance about everything, and then goes out in the NFC in the divisional game and doesn't even do nothing. 225 yards and an interception. You're telling me you're the MVP? You're the MVP? I would have let him walk for $200 million. I would have said, hey, we don't want that. And I know people are like, oh, Jordan Love is as booty as AF as fuck. Let's just be honest. I'll say it. We're grown people in this chat here. I don't think that's the problem. I think the issue is these guys are playing longer. Mac, remember 33, 35, you were out, man. You were out at 35 years old. You weren't staying around. Those guys 40-something years old. Rodgers, 40 years old, getting $200 million. That seems like bad business to me. Bad business.
But how do you about another trade? This one happened earlier in the week too. Khalil Mack to the not San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Ooh, I'll always call them San Diego. They're San Diego in my heart.
Opposite Joey Bosa, man. That's going to be a tough tandem to handle out there, man.
Mac, I think I'm having nightmares right now, Mac. I'm having nightmares right now because who am I going to block? Who am I double teaming? They got Linval Joseph in the middle. Okay, they got Joey Bosa on the outside, and they got a guy named Mac. Great. I mean, the rich get richer in this league, don't they? You know what I mean? And you know what they got Khalil Mack for? A second-round pick. A second-round pick.
Second-round pick. I believe Chicago had to give up 2 first-round picks to get Khalil Mack when they acquired him.
So you gave up a second-round pick for arguably one of the best defensive ends of the last decade. We're sitting here trying to get – I'm not saying the Giants should do anything, but a second-round pick, that's straight stealing. And everyone's going to be like, well, Adam, it's a second-round pick. You need those. Yeah, right. Give me a break. You give me Khalil Mack, and I'll give you a second-round pick. Hell, I'll even throw in a third, maybe a fourth for you.
Some people have been throwing the excuse out saying that it's because maybe due to the fact that he's been a little bit banged up the last couple of seasons.
Well,
that's why it only took a second-round pick to move him this year.
Well, and guess what? He's going to go to L.A. He's going to somehow miraculously get healthy, and he's going to blow up the NFL, and everyone's going to be like, well, I didn't see that coming. Yeah, you saw that coming. I feel like, Mac, sometimes players are a product of their environment. And what I mean by that is when you get older, you get a little bit more hurt, your team stinks, you're not always on the edge of your seat every game, right? And I'm not saying this guy doesn't play hard. What I'm saying is sometimes you don't always want to make the wow play because you know you're going to inevitably lose. Now you go to a team where this is the first team that he's going to be on that's a winning team. You don't think he's got a pep in his step? He's probably skipping into that building right now. He's probably skipping into the building right now, signing his contract. Because he's like, man, I have a chance to do something that I didn't get to do. He wins the Super Bowl with this team. Guess what? He's going in the annals of history of every other defensive end that goes up there. Look at Von Miller. Von Miller's a 2-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 1-time Super Bowl MVP. He's going to the Hall of Fame. You put Khalil Mack in L.A., and L.A. ends up winning the Super Bowl or gets to the playoffs. What do you think Khalil Mack is feeling? Because I know that I ain't playing in Chicago. I'm not happy there. It's cold. It's rain. It's wintry. It's the fan base is loyal, but you're not winning. And now they're rebuilding. It was more of a salary dump than anything. But geez, and then now we're on the verge of all this. And for me, Khalil Mack to Joey Bosa, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's just absolutely nuts. And the fact we have so many trades going down, I never thought in the NFL so many trades would go down.
So this early in the offseason as well. And how about the Amari Cooper deal?
And there's another one. There's another one. There's another one that, first off, doesn't make sense to me because you don't like Amari Cooper. I get it. But you're trading him for a sixth-round pick. And the Browns, what are they doing? I feel like the Browns get rid of one receiver and bring in another one. It's like, what are you doing with Jarvis Landry? What are you doing, I forget who the other guy is on this team. They have a third receiver over there. I forget what his name is. But you have all these receivers and playmakers. You have Austin Hooper. You have franchise David Njoku. And now you're bringing in Amari Cooper. And yet you don't even know if your quarterback's good enough to get him the football. I'm just saying, think about that, Mac. We're sitting here and we're complaining about, not we, but Cleveland is 50-50 on Baker Mayfield. So now you're bringing a playmaker? How about some offensive line help? How about something else? Oh my God,
I mean,
Cooper.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then obviously the big deal early is the big deal that happened was the big Russell Wilson trade, man.
We can't forget the Commanders trade either.
Some people feel like Denver gave up a little too much. Only thing I feel like Denver should have probably fought harder to not include was Noah Fant in that deal. I just feel like a player the caliber of Noah Fant on top of all that draft capital and two other players. I know Drew Lock is no Russell Wilson, but he has starting experience in this league. And I can't remember the defensive guy's name, unfortunately, right now. But
I don't remember his name either, but
he
wasn't a relevant player.
I just feel like you shouldn't have included Noah Fant in that. You should have fought harder to hang on to Noah Fant.
Yeah, and what's up, Super Taj? I think Noah Fant I was a little sad about because I really like him. He was I think it was a top 10 pick. I forget what draft it was, but it was the draft for T.J. Hawkinson and him as the top guys. And for me, I would have been fine with giving up the picks and no players. You know what I mean? Because now Russell Wilson goes there, and you're getting rid of one of his best weapons in Noah Fant. Now, I get it. They have Jared Jeudy and, the other receivers that are out there. But to me, Noah Fant was the guy for me that moved the needle. Drew Lock, to me, that's just they need a quarterback to fill the spot. So, Seattle is getting a guy who is a bridge quarterback anyways, depending on what bridge we're talking about, whether it's this year or next year. But that was a big trade. I think Russell Wilson makes out best in the deal. But let's be honest, Mac, they got 4 teams that are good in that division. It's not like he's going to a team like the NFC East where he would basically be leaps and bounds better than every quarterback in the division. He's going to the AFC West. They have Patrick Mahomes. We were just talking about the LA Chargers. They have Justin Herbert. They have David Carr already there. So this division is probably going to be the best division in football in terms of sheer talent at the quarterback position. You could probably put everyone up against each other, and this one would probably trump them all because they've got 4 quarterbacks who've been to the Pro Bowl. They all have like playoff experience or fighting for playoffs. I mean, the Chargers are no slouch. They won 9 games or whatever, and were in it in the end. And then the Broncos were the worst team, and they were 7-10.
Absolutely, and they were basically if they had a quarterback away.
Right, but now with the emergence of Herbert and the emergence of and Patrick Mahomes not falling off, and then the Raiders putting some stuff together. Well, I like the move by Denver. I mean, it doesn't assure them that they're going to be the number 1 team in their division. I mean, it's great to have, but it doesn't assure them number 1. I think it was a great trade for both sides. I think that Seattle's going to be a player in the draft with these picks. Who knows what they're going to do? I mean, there's rumors about Deshaun Watson. I don't know if they're going to get him either. And there's many quarterbacks that have been traded this year. I mean, Carson Wentz has been traded. But just to close up on the Denver thing, I want to see how it works out because, again, he goes from a division where, again, it was tough in the NFC West to the AFC West where it's going to be, again, tough. So we'll see how he fares out there.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun division to watch this season, man. It's going to be some fun football, that AFC West, man. And I'm glad we don't have them on the schedule this year.
We lucked out.
Most definitely. But In New York Giant news, we got a couple of guys restructuring deals to stay on board with the New York Giants, man. We got Sterling Shepard restructuring his contract, Blake Martinez restructuring his, man. They want to stay, they want to be a part of this rebuild. And I personally, myself, I like to see things like that, man. I like to see guys that are willing to sacrifice their own personal, bank accounts and such to still be a part of what's been a rough team to be on the last X amount of years. Sterling Shepard's been here all in his career, man. But I think it was.
Well,
How do you feel about those guys?
before we get into that, I want one more NFC East thing. The Commanders made a trade for Carson Wentz. Now, nobody really cares about Carson Wentz, but since he is
Yeah.
coming over to the NFC East, I'm going to touch on him and then get to the Giants real quick. He's going to the worst team. Like he couldn't find the worst team to go to. The fact that who got fleeced? The Commanders got fleeced. That's who got fleeced. Giving up that much for Carson Wentz, that's a joke. That's a joke. But to answer your question, I don't know how I feel about Sterling Shepard. I mean, like, how many chances are we going to give this guy? Like, is he going to be here? I mean, Isaiah McKenzie, thank God, got signed by the Bills again. But everyone's like, oh, Isaiah McKenzie's going to come in. We have Kadarius Toney. I'm like, yo, man, I'm over Sterling Shepard. I love the guy. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being out there. But if he comes out here and in week 3 pulls a hamstring because he stepped on the field wrong and he's out like 6 weeks, it's just going to be one of those things. I like the Blake Martinez deal. I feel bad for him because, let's be honest, he was playing our best linebacker we've seen since Antonio Pierce, right? And it's unfortunate he went down in week 3 with injury. I don't think he necessarily needed to take a pay cut, but hey, good for him. He wanted to be here. He wants to re-up his value, and let's be honest. It's not a restructuring. What it is they cut up the contract and basically made him sign a 1-year deal with incentives to get some of that money back. Because a restructure is a lot different. And a lot of people are throwing that word around, restructure. It's basically a brand new deal. It's a 1-year contract. And I want people to understand that because, when we say restructure, sometimes that means you're moving money down the road to another season or something like that. So for me, it's not a restructure. It's a new deal. And now there's rumors that they're possibly going to trade Bradbury. They're possibly going to trade Barkley, and this is the reason why. And here's a rumor I want to bring up, Mac, and I want your thoughts. Mitchell Trubisky. Do you think the rumors are true that the Giants are interested in him, or do you think that's just agent hearsay that he's just trying to drum up interest for his client?
I mean, I think it could be true. I mean, well, and if you think about it, in a sense, we got a first-year head coach in Brian Dable. We came from Buffalo. He'd probably feel a little more comfortable having a guy in there, and a quarterback he could having the quarterback room that already understands his vision, his offense. Could help out Daniel Jones and the other quarterbacks in the room. Maybe pick up this offense a little bit quicker, and have him maybe get them more prepared. Also, I mean, for what it's worth, Mitchell Trubisky is the type of guy that could come in and really push Daniel Jones. Because we can't, after what we've seen from Daniel Jones his first few years, I can't just fully say he's better than Mitchell Trubisky. You know what I mean? I can't just flat out say that. I mean, he hasn't. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky, in a sense, has had more success as a starting quarterback than Daniel Jones. So, I think it would be a good move for the New York Giants to get a guy like that in here, and I'd be pretty good, pretty happy with it.
So let me ask you this then, because what's really annoying me is if the Giants are going to get rid of Barkley, if they're going to get rid of Bradbury, if they're going to get rid of all these good players they have, what's the point of keeping the kid? Because right now, if this is the real estate market, you're selling your house. What I mean by that is the quarterback market is hot right now. Teams need quarterbacks. And if you have any interest in Daniel Jones, I don't even hesitate to move that kid. Because with Mitchell Trubisky, you can at least tell the fan base, yeah, we were punting this year, just trying to make ends meet. What's going on, AK? How you doing?
What's up, AK?
Trying to make ends meet. But if you're going to bring him in, and then let's say Daniel Jones loses the starting job anyways, and now we miss out on trading him because everybody's got a quarterback position filled. I just think if you're going to lose, get rid of him now. Don't worry about it. Rip the Band-Aid off. Who cares about evaluating him if you're going to bring in another guy for more money? And I think possibly, Mac, if this rumor is true, I believe they're going to get rid of Daniel Jones. And the reason why I said I think it will come more towards draft day, because if they bring in Mitchell Trubisky and they bring him in, let's say they bring him in early, right? Because the Giants come into OTAs April 4th. They have a new coach. They're allowed to come in early. And let's say they get Mitchell Trubisky in. What does that say about Daniel Jones's neck? Like, are we serious? If you're going to bring in a quarterback of Mitchell Trubisky ilk, what does that say about Daniel Jones's neck?
I mean, it says that they seriously want to take a look at this, take a look and see if this guy can be the guy. I mean, because if realistically, if Daniel Jones if he can be the guy, he's got to be able to beat out Mitchell Trubisky in training camp. You know, you got to be able to win jobs over guys like him if you're going to be the guy. And I think honestly,
Right.
to go back to the trade thing with Daniel Jones, the real reason we're not hearing anything about a trade with Daniel Jones is because I'm gonna be quite frank, and I can't put it any more bluntly, being more blunt about it. There's probably no interest in Daniel Jones. There's probably nobody ringing the Giants' phone off the hook looking for trying to acquire Daniel Jones. You know what I mean? So that's what this kid has a lot to prove, man. So I think what he
Well,
needs. I think that's part of the issue with Daniel Jones is that there's not enough interest in. But yet he's still kind of we're still
so
kind of stuck with him. But at the very least, I feel like bringing in a guy like Mitchell Trubisky, you gotta push this guy some kind of way. Give him something to make him have to respond, step up, compete for this job. Because he's been handed the job the last 2 years of the past 2 seasons with no real competition whatsoever in camp with him. This year, if you get a guy like Trubisky or whoever it could be, if it could be a Bridgewater or anybody else, a Mariota,
so
somebody of that like that, bring somebody in that can legitimately push Daniel Jones or even beat him out, and then and let's see what we got, man. We'll go forward from there.
I was going to ask you that. Like, if I was to throw a name out like Jameis Winston, do you think that's a guy to bring in here? Like, for example, Teddy Bridgewater. Okay, he could probably start anywhere. Do you think he's better than Daniel Jones or on the same level? Because I'm looking at it like this: if you bring in a guy that has some starting caliber content, thank you for the comment, AK. That's a great comment. We appreciate you swinging through and giving us that great compliment. But my point is, if you got a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, so let's say push Daniel Jones, whatever, right? Why am I keeping Daniel Jones if he wins the job? Like, why am I even entertaining it? If I'm going to bring in a guy like Mitchell Trubisky who already knows the offense, to me, I'm going to be like, well, we're open for business. Anybody, because right now the quarterback market is hot, and I could see a team. You can probably call up Pittsburgh and say, hey, do you want to try out Daniel Jones for a year and keep your playoff hopes alive? Because who knows? Maybe they'll say, screw that. I'll just get Malik Willis in the draft or something like that. I don't know. Maybe they'll hang up on you. But if I'm Joe Shane, and I know, I mean, let's be honest, we probably know if they're getting Mitchell Trubisky because they're probably setting up deals or talking around. Remember, the legal tampering period happened, but you got to live under a rock to not at least reach out to the representatives of this player to understand if they're really interested. Now, I hear the Giants aren't as high on Daniel Jones as we thought, and this is why they're interested. But to me, I think something's wrong with the neck, Mac. I really do.
I mean, it could be. I mean, the neck injuries are serious, and maybe we're not releasing all the information to the public, and we don't know everything, all the full details. But it could. I mean, I wouldn't be far fetched theory, but if that's the
And let me
case, then
get
I'd rather bring in somebody like I would take it up like a Jameis Winston, who I feel like if they brought him in, I don't think Daniel Jones has a real shot at beating James Winston. I just really don't. I think Winston is a much better quarterback than Daniel Jones, in my personal opinion. I know he has interception issues himself, but I believe he's just a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. And I think if he were somebody like him were to come in, that's the writings on the wall for Daniel Jones. Whereas somebody like I said, Trubisky or Bridgewater, maybe it would be more of a competition that Daniel Jones could possibly actually win.
Well,
Maybe.
the thing is like I bring in a Bridgewater. The thing is, they need to bring in a no-name guy that they want to bring in. That's why I keep telling you, if you draft a quarterback this year, let's say second, third, fourth round, a guy you want to not build a team around, but put him in your system. So if you do happen to have a quarterback go down, you can continue on, right? Some people think the backup quarterback's not an important position. I think a backup quarterback is important for you. I mean, look at Nick Foles. The Eagles don't win a Super Bowl without Nick Foles. Giants don't win a Super Bowl against Denver without Jeff Hostetler. And the list goes on. The Vikings don't make it to the divisional round, past the divisional round without Case Keenum. I mean, there are backup quarterbacks for a reason. And I know you can tell me, hey, Adam, well, it works better when on the winning team. But when you have a guy like Daniel Jones who hasn't stayed healthy, that's a big, important role if you want to evaluate the rest of your roster. Reason we don't know how good everybody else is because our quarterback was so bad last year, even with the offensive line issues, that when the other guys came in, they were even worse. And so now you don't know how good Kenny Golladay really is because we don't have a quarterback. And I was talking to a person who's in this chat, actually, like a Miz. I was talking to him, and he was saying something along the lines of Daniel Jones is a pocket passer. And I agree. Daniel Jones is not meant for this type of football. He is a old school mid-90s quarterback that's stuck in the 2020s because you need to move around. It's true. Think about him. He's a drop back quarterback. He's a drop back quarterback in the mid-90s who is stuck in the 2020s, right? What do you do differently in the 2020s, Mac, that you don't do, right? What do we do differently? I want to see if you know. What are most quarterbacks doing that Daniel Jones is not? And I'm not talking about winning. I'm just talking about one skill. Think Lamar Jackson.
I mean, they think on the run. They can throw the ball on the run.
Right. And so my point is, if you have the mentality of being a drop back passer, but yet you are not a drop back, you're not a running quarterback. That's why these offensive lines work. Because they have these issues where they lose offensive lines and they can't get it back because Daniel Jones needs to move. If you look at every quarterback we talk about, look at Russell Wilson. What does he can do? He can move and throw on the run. Patrick Mahomes. Where are the pocket passers? Kirk Cousins. I mean, Tom Brady. I mean, they're going the way of the dinosaur, Mac. And that's why I think people need to really think about when they're looking at a quarterback. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is not going to be here. I'm just saying that's why he can do. Hold on one second.
Okay. With that being said, though, about him being, like you said, he's a pocket passer. What have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and what did the Patriots do around Tom Brady to make sure that because they knew what Tom Brady was, they always made sure that offensive line was shored up. They always, no matter what, took care of that offensive line and made sure that Tom Brady had a good old line in front of him. And that's where the New York Giants have failed Daniel Jones. If I'm sure these guys, NFL coaches, can recognize what Daniel Jones' true skill set is, and the fact that they've been failing with building this offensive line for so long. I mean, Eli Manning the same way. I mean, you knew what Eli Manning was. He's a pocket guy. He's gonna beat teams by sitting in the pocket and killing them. But so it's like the fact that the New York Giants as an organization has failed with rebuilding this offensive line for so long now. How do you think that weighs in on the situation?
I want to say this. They have attempted to fix it. It just hasn't worked out, right? I know everyone's saying it's a complete failure, and it is. But I don't want to say like they ignored it for years. It's, they drafted Justin Pugh in 2013. Okay? They drafted Weston Richburg in 2014. They drafted Eric Flowers in 2015. They drafted, Mitch Petrus in 20 along the lines. They had Brewer come in, James Brewer. They've had guys come in. They've just failed miserably. And this year, in 2020, guess how many guys they drafted? 3: Lemieux, Thomas, and Pert. And one out of those 3 guys is actually playing well. And normally, you draft 3 linemen, you're hopefully that all 3 can be a starter for you. Instead, no, they're not. So what I think needs to happen, and last year, I don't know what Dave Gettleman and Judge were smoking last year, because we had Rashad Slater on the board. And now I understand the trade down, but the trade down was supposed to happen because Daniel Jones was supposed to get evaluated. So if you're doing that, you should have taken Rashawn Slater and not worried about Kadarius Toney. Because I would have rather have them taken Rashawn Slater and then maybe a receiver in the second round. And yes, do I lose Ojulari? I lose Ojulari, but I get a receiver and a lineman for Daniel Jones. I get to evaluate him more so that this year coming in, I'm not sitting here saying, well, I wonder what Daniel Jones is, right? Because if you look at certain things, and this is why I keep saying to people, this is critical. Daniel Jones right now may cost you money if he does well. Great. If he does well, the Giants do well, great, bring him back. But if the Giants do 7-10 and he has a mediocre season, why did I just waste my time with this guy? Why not just why not just build my team, not worry about the distraction of Daniel Jones? Because let's think about this, Mac. There's a rumor right now. I'm reading on my website that I go on that I love to get my football and Giant news. They're possibly trading Saquon Barkley. And someone told me it wasn't possible, but now it's possible. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So you're telling me, we're going to keep him for Daniel Jones, and then all of a sudden now you're going to trade him. So then what's the point of keeping Daniel Jones?
I mean, I think right about now, I don't know, man. I'm really thinking this team, in a sense, is feeling, like I said, feeling a bit stuck with Daniel Jones for right now, for the moment, man. I just feel like, at least for this next season, I think, like I said, there's just a lack of interest on the open trade market for him. And what are you going to do? I mean, you can't really outright just release the guy right now, can you?
I think you can. I don't know what his cap hit would be, but look at this, okay? If you bring in Mitchell Trubisky, and God forbid he wins the job, I'm telling you right now, you bring in Mitchell Trubisky and he wins the job, Daniel Jones, man, that would be such a slap in the face, right? Because everyone's talking like this guy Mitchell Trubisky is going to get $16 million. Yeah, right. The guy got $4 million last year. He threw 8 passes in a game. Now you're going to give him $16 million? Give me a break, okay? Like Marcus Mariota would probably get more. I prefer Mariota more so than Trubisky. But if you bring him in and he beats out Daniel Jones, then what are you going to do? Keep him? Wait? I just don't understand. And if you're getting rid of Barkley, to me, if you're getting rid of Barkley and you actually get an offer, and let's say come next week Barkley's gone, then I would turn to Daniel Jones and say you got to be gone as well, because there's no point and keeping you or getting rid of your best weapon.
But hypothetically, though, Trubisky comes in, or anybody, whoever, it doesn't even matter. Keep saying Trubisky. It doesn't matter. Anybody comes in and beats out Daniel Jones. Then that might give Daniel Jones a little more trade value as a backup quarterback at the very least, where then you might have some teams wanting to reach out and trying to acquire Daniel Jones to come in and maybe be at least a backup guy if you then want to try to move him in. I think it will probably be easier at that point, to be quite frank, than it is right now.
Well, I think Daniel Jones needs a Mitchell Trubisky year, a year where he's just not featured as the quarterback, can sit back, relax, collect the check, and then reevaluate himself again. Because I think he's damaged goods here. And I think someone put it on someone else's stream. I don't know. I think he's a shot fighter. I think he's damaged goods. And if you're going to get rid of his best player in the backfield, I don't care what anybody says, Barkley changes the dynamic of the game. He makes the entire offense change just with the sheer fact that he can go to the house from, any place on the field. If you get rid of him, then how again are you working for Daniel Jones? And then you bring in a guy like Trubisky. To me, at that point, it's like, I think this might happen, and this is what my scenario is. They bring in Mitchell Trubisky. They find a reason to get rid of Daniel Jones, whether it's he's injured and they give him an injury settlement, or they find a trade partner for him. That's what I would think they would do, right? And let Mitchell Trubisky be the bridge quarterback. Then next year what happens is now you're probably not winning with Mitchell Trubisky, and you're in that range to get your quarterback. And you go up there and you're top 10, you get your quarterback then, and Mitchell Trubisky can leave and go be another starter somewhere else, and you got your guy, and your team's already built. This says, trade Barkley now if there's picks on the table. Mara, get F out the way. This GM has a plan. Let's see. I don't keep Barkley and not pay him and lose him for zero. Well, they would probably get a comp pick for him next year, which is not, guaranteed, because he will get a big deal. But I agree with you, Miz. Get rid of him. I say get rid of everybody, Mac. That's me. I'm like, if you're going to rebuild and lose, why are we going to lose with Daniel Jones? We can lose without you.
I mean, that makes sense too. I mean, obviously, I've mentioned many times I'm a big fan of of Saquon Barkley, and I just believe in the talent. But like you said, at the end of the day, if we can get value for him, true value, I'm not just giving him away for peanuts because they're just more draft picks. I can't do that. I can't be on board with that. I have to still get what Saquon's true value is to me. And honestly, my personal belief is that's definitely nothing less than a three at the very minimum is a three.
Let me ask you this, Mac. Do you think we're winning next year?
I do not. I think we're going to be about a maybe 6-win team next year as things stand right now.
Okay, so if you think that we're going to be a 6-win team, the entire NFL thinks we're going to be a 6-win team. Why in the hell am I going to keep somebody to evaluate him? Why not just give the regime a chance? Say, hey, we like Daniel Jones. Everything's on the table. We're going to play him, right? Instead, what do? They fluffed up his, hey, we love him, we love him, we love him. But now all of a sudden you're trying to make him Mr. Trubisky. Now, granted, I'm a guy that's banged the table that said I want competition, but you're bringing in a guy who clearly will have a leg up on Jones in terms of knowing the offense. Like, he's going to come in and know the terminology.
But that's it. That's a good point right there. That lets you see what you truly have in Daniel Jones, because a lot of excuses have been made about, no line and this, that, and the other, people being injured and all this and that. Oh, wait. Okay, no more excuses on the table. That you bring in a guy like Trubisky, who, like you said, already has a leg up, knows the offense, already that in terminology and everything. And if Daniel Jones can find a way to scrap and beat this kid out, then that tells you a little bit about the true grit of Daniel Jones if he actually does have it. I, on the other hand, do agree with what you said earlier. I think he's just kind of been ruined here in New York, and any chance this kid has having any kind of a successful career is going to have to be elsewhere in another city. That's how I feel honestly about the whole situation. But the fact remains that if you bring somebody like a Trubisky in who does already have that much more advanced in this offense, and Daniel Jones can find a way to beat him out, it would say a lot about the character of Daniel Jones, possibly, moving forward.
Right, and I think what's happening here is twofold. One, the Giants said something that I keep harping on, and I want people to know. What I want them to let them know is they said they wanted to be competitive. Somebody said they wanted to win. I don't think they really care about winning this season, to be honest with you. And I know people are going to say that's terrible, but I think that's their plan behind closed doors. They want to just be competitive. They want to build a foundation. Because remember when Gettleman came in, he was like, with Barkley, he was like, yeah, I want to build and win at the same time. And I think you can't do both. I think you have to focus on, hey, we're going to rebuild, or hey, we're going to win. Right? You can't just be now. If you want to be competitive, that's a different story. Being competitive is totally different than winning. That means we want to be in games. That doesn't say, hey, we want to win. It's just we're being competitive, because they never said that in any of the press conferences. Both him and Brian Dable just said we want to be competitive this year, and that to me is my flag saying, oh, okay, we're going to be evaluating. So if you're going to be evaluating and punting this year, even though I know they don't want to be it, I think they're keeping Daniel Jones for the fans' sake. Why not just get rid of him and get a 5th-round pick and say, Daniel, go to New Orleans, go to Pittsburgh, go to a team that, we'll find you a situation. We've done wrong by you, but let's do right by you now and find a situation for you and make a call to maybe the Rooneys or another owner and say, hey, listen, we've done this guy wrong. He's a pretty good quarterback. What do you want to work out a deal to get him someplace where he can get out of the spotlight and rectify his career?
I mean, I agree. That's what the kid. I believe the kid needs something like that. I just think what he's put on the field over the course of his first 3 years just doesn't garner a lot of interest from other folks right now. I just honestly can't imagine anybody wanting to stick their neck out and give up any kind of capital to acquire Daniel Jones.
Well, I mean, when you're getting guys in these and some of these quarterbacks are going to get paid, like Marcus Mariota or Jameis Winston or guys like that, because there are desperate needing teams with quarterbacks. There's like 9 that need a starter in the league, right? And that's not mentioning the guys who are going to be signed, right? The top of the market, Mariota, Bridgewater, and Winston, right? But for me, the only thing is, and Miz keeps bringing it up, he goes, well, Jones is only going to be here a year, so after next season he's gone. So my point is, who cares if he's here next year? What's the point of having him here this year if he's going to be gone next year? I want a quarterback here that I know is going to be here next year, and so we're going to see and evaluate him. Other than that, it means no point because honestly, Mac, they're not going to pay him money next year anyways. The franchise tag is going to be like $25 million, and they're not going to negotiate that with a guy who gave them one season possibly healthy when he's giving you 3 other seasons injured. It's just not going to work. And then you're going to get rid of his best player in Saquon Barkley, and then you're going to be like, well, you're going to try to turn around and tell me, well, we're really trying to evaluate Daniel Jones. Come on, Mac. Come on. That's just bull crap.
Look, man. Look, you ain't got. I feel you on. I'm not. I told you. I think. I'm ready to move on from Daniel Jones. At the same time, that was just my thoughts on why I think
Right.
we're still going to be. He's going to be here. But let's kind of move away from this Daniel Jones topic, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a few of the free agents that are available and any guys on your radar. Like I was mentioning on the stream yesterday, a guy because I feel like Giants, we don't have the kind of money to go out there and be trying to get any of these big time names, the big time top guys that are available. But a low key, I think good depth guy we could bring in at linebacker, man, is a guy I like named AJ Klein. You know, he was on Buffalo a year ago. Most of his career was spent in New Orleans, I believe, and he'll be a solid rotational guy maybe to add to the lineup that's available out there. What's your thoughts on any of the pending free agents?
Well, I like AJ Klein, but I would take Josie Jewell. I just think Josie Jewell's a better player from Denver. AJ Klein is good, but it's not like we're playing the same. If we took the defensive coordinator, if we took Leslie Frazier, I would say, Mac, I would get AJ Klein, but we took Wink Martindale. So, in Wink Martindale's system, let's see if he will fit. I would take a guy, again, like Jewell, who I like there as a middle linebacker. There's a couple other guys out there that might be good. There's a kid from Atlanta who had 154 tackles. I can't pronounce his name. It's an African name. Sorry,
I can't pronounce his name.
Number 54. Yeah. I can't pronounce that. I butchered it. I ain't even going to try to look him up because I'll be up here phonetically sounding it wrong. But we'll say 54 in Atlanta. He looks like he's up and comer. That's a guy for me. If I'm the Giants, I might look into because we're not even shopping in the bargain bins. We're at like the Walmart 99-cent, bin. Okay, we're getting in there, and no disrespect to Walmart, they're a great store, great product, but yeah, there is names Olukin, right? It sounds like Chetcherukin from Street Fighter, right? The super kick that he does, the. Now I'm getting off topic. Don't mind me, folks. But I think he's good. I think he will fit Martindale's scheme. I don't even think about Bobby Wagner. He's not coming here. I know people are like, oh, Bobby Wagner. And it's funny. Every time someone gets cut, they're like, oh, the Giants can sign him. Oh, the Giants
can afford Bobby Wagner, though?
Hell no.
That's my thought. That's why I'm not even thinking about him.
I've just heard people say, Bobby Wagner is going to go to a team like the Ravens, maybe like Pittsburgh, like a team that's going to win. His name is Fasaid Oliukin. Sounds like a Street Fighter move. But, I'm just saying, that's a kid I'd look into. He's going to be cheap. That's a guy that the Giants should target. He apparently ran like a 4.5 at the combine. He got speed all over the place, and he's on the verge. What I will say is this, man. I think they're going to get guys that are going to surprise you. And what I mean by that is like they might get a guy who's injured or someone that's off the beaten path that you may not have studied that may come in here and get a deal, right? And a deal done. Or they might bring in a guy like Joe Feliciano that got cut from the Buffalo Bills, the guard. He might come cheap. I don't know. He got cut for money reasons. So I don't think he's going to turn around and be like, hey, Giants, I was supposed to get $13 million. I hope you can give me $13 million. I don't know. What's going to happen there. So, AJ Klein, to answer your question, I don't think it's coming here. But other guys, I do.
How about if the price is right, how would you feel about like a Corey Littleton?
See, the Corey Littleton I wanted when I was scouting Blake Martinez. But I wouldn't mind him so much. I think they would work hand in hand, but really what you got to ask yourself is what is Wink Martindale like? Is Corey Littleton a Patrick McQueen light? If he is, then yeah, you bring him in. If not, I don't know. I just think my middle linebacker should be somebody who could possibly replace Blake Martinez as well. That's how I look at it. Bring in somebody like that, a Yukin kid, right? He can probably replace Blake Martinez down the road, and then you can just draft somebody and groom them. I think really, to be realistic with you, you're going to get a tight end and you're going to get a linebacker in this draft. I think those are the two main shopping points outside of tackle and edge that are going to be definitely picked, and you're going to see a lot of contribution from a rookie this year.
Are there any tight ends on the market that you
Well, there's a
taking a look
few.
at?
There's a few. There's a few guys out there. There's Mo Ali Cox. I don't really like him, but somebody brought him up in an article I was reading, and there was a guy named Will Dissey from Seattle. They think he was a good blocking tight end, but he just wasn't used in the receiving game. He has like 9 touchdowns in 4 years, which is basically, it's a lot of touchdowns, a couple touchdowns a year. But they said that he's on the verge of breaking out. There's a guy named Hayden Hurst, I think his name is.
Yeah,
He's a
Hayden
tight
Hurst.
end. Yeah, he used
He
to
was in
play for.
Atlanta. He's had a rough go at it, man.
Right. But he may want a new start, so maybe he can come cheap. I know they're looking for an H back too, and I kind of feel like Hayden Hurst
If
fits that
if I
role.
could touch on the Hayden Hurst real quick, since you brought his
Go
name
ahead.
up, he's had a rough start, man, in his career. As far as he's in Baltimore, they bring in Mark Andrews. You know what I mean?
Right.
He goes to Atlanta, they bring in
Kyle
damn
Pitts.
what? Yeah, they
Kyle,
Kyle Pitts. It's like this. I mean, he's a talented tight end. I would
right.
actually
No,
be ecstatic if we could get Hayden Hurst. To be honest, he's a good receiving tight end. I'm not sure how well he is in the running game, helping with the blocking and everything. I'm not so sure about that, but he's definitely a good receiving tight end. I wouldn't be opposed to acquiring him. You know what I mean? Because
I
I
like
think
it.
he'd love to go somewhere where he knows there's no one in the way of
Right.
him
Right.
being the starting tight end.
I- you know, and I'm hearing like Evan Ingram's getting baller money from other people as a slot receiver or something like that. Good, Pat Moore. You can go drop ball somewhere else. I don't care.
That's
So
what
Hayden Hurst,
exactly.
right? Go drop ball somewhere else. And the thing is this: when people are like, and I'll get back to Hayden Hurst in a second. They're like, oh, well, what if he does well in another place? Who cares? Who the hell cares? Okay, like if he does well somewhere else, who in the effing hell cares? Because it's like this, right? I left a job. Do you think my ex-boss is giving a shit if I'm doing well in this job? No. They were like, don't let the door hit you on the way out, Adam. And I'm like, good. And I flipped them off too, right? So my point is, who cares? If I do well at the job, then I do well at the job. And let my actions speak more so than this. It's like, oh well, we're gonna. A lot of fans do that. Well, what if I think they're doing it with Daniel Jones too? Well, we can't let him go. What if he does something well in another team? Who the hell cares? He doesn't work out here. You can't just be like, well, we're just going to keep him to hope. And then
It
he goes
doesn't
to another team.
matter what he
Right.
does on any
Then he
other
goes to
team
another team and
because he wasn't doing it here. So
right.
we got rid of
Right.
him because he wasn't doing it here.
Right. And so for me, it's like, I hate when people do that and give me that bullshit excuse where like, well, if he blows up, who the cares if he blows up somewhere else? That's not your problem anymore. Okay.
It's like a Jeremy Shockey. He was great. He was
Right.
great for us. He wasn't even good anywhere else. So you know
Right. Exactly.
that's
Right. Who
that's
cares?
how it goes.
So like to touch on your thing about Hayden Hurst, let's give him a chance where, I know the only thing is he's a little older. He's 28. Which isn't really a bad thing. But in NFL terms, if you're looking at longevity, you're probably got about a 4-year window with that guy, right? Till he has to maybe retire. But for me, if that's a guy you're going to bring in, I think he can play a little H-back. They're looking for an H-back right now as well. And I'd like to bring him in and give him a shot. I also like Gerald Everett. Logan pointed that out in the chat. I like what Gerald Everett can do. I think he's another guy that has been miscast in certain avenues. I know he went to Seattle, didn't live up to the expectations there. He came from L.A. or St. Louis or whatever the hell the Rams were called. I think they were called L.A. at this point. But he came from the Rams, got drafted by the Rams. Same draft that Ingram got drafted in. And he's a tight end I would bring in. He does a little bit more than that. But there's a guy in the draft I like, and that's Wagemeyer from Texas A&M, I think. 255 pounds. He's like 6'6". I mean, I think the Giants are going to go that route with a draft pick. I think they're going to – don't be surprised they bring in like an O.J. Howard type too, like a guy who has some blocking experience. Because I think the Giants are looking for 2 types of tight ends. They said that they need an H-back. Now, if you folks are not familiar with an H-back, it's like a fullback that plays tight end. All right, and then they're going to look for a regular tight end. I'm tired of this Evan Ingram bullshit, detached tight end shit. Where I'm done with it. I want a guy who can catch the ball because the tight end's the best friend. Look at like Dak Prescott with Jason Witten and
Absolutely.
Schultz. Like tight ends. When we grew up, Mac, they were
Yep.
pretty big. I mean, Shannon Sharp, right? Ben Coates of the Patriots. I
I
mean,
mean,
the list
let's just
goes
look
on
what
and
Eli
on for
Manning
tight
was
ends.
able to get out of his tight ends throughout his
Right.
whole career, no
And
matter
those
who the
guys
hell
were
it
fun.
was. It didn't matter what their name was on the back of their jersey. Eli Manning
Right.
was able to get the most out of those tight ends, man.
Right. Or the
They're
front of their
absolute
jersey too. And
safety
and
valve for
and
most quarterbacks.
there you go, Jalen Wydermyer, right? That's a guy like I don't know when he's going to come out, but hopefully in the third round. I know he's dipping a little bit because of the combine performance. And I don't look at combine performance and define that for a player because again, the combine is a showcase of the showcases. Who knows? Maybe a guy's nervous. Maybe a guy's running wrong. Maybe a guy had bubble guts and fucking was shitting all over the hotel, and now you asking him to run a 40, right? Like, I know. For me, if I had bubble guts the night before because I'm nervous and shit, and you want me to run a 40, I might be clinching when I'm running that 40, so maybe my time goes a little down. You know what I mean? Like it's a job interview. When they go to their pro
It's a
day,
lot of
that's
pressure,
like throwing
man.
in your backyard. Exactly, that's like throwing back in your backyard or your
That's
parking
why a
lot
lot of these
wherever you're.
guys, if you notice, they have a lot better performances at their pro days because they're just a lot more comfortable and
I wonder
you know
why.
what I
I
mean,
wonder
pretty
why.
much at home.
Look at Tom Brady, TB, with his sunglasses on and shit. Man, Tom Brady, I know we're talking about the Giants right now, but he gets on my damn nerves. I love him, but he gets on my damn nerves. And for the rest of the free agency, let's go down the list. I think the Giants are going to bring in a lot of free agent linemen, and whether that's undrafted free agent players, but people aren't realizing that the Giants have to get to 90 players at some point in this off season. So the salary cap only counts to the first 51, right? The top
Mhm.
51 players on your roster. So right now, James Bradbury has like $21 million. I think he should be traded. And they Giants shouldn't do it. If you can't trade him, you restructure him and bring him back. You do not, or you make a new contract. You do not just get rid of him like for nothing. You know what I
Oh
mean? I
no, you
hate
can't do that.
and I hate the comp thing too because you only get a few comp picks. So if mad guys leave and sign players, I think you're only a max allowed like 3 comp picks. So if you lose 10 guys, great. I get 2 comp picks for it. No, give me Brad. And I want picks this year because back we keep this is the thing I keep harping on. We're rebuilding. So when you tear things down, you need more players to replace. And if we're playing like there's 9 rookies right now, this roster is going to be nothing but competition across the board. Just get rid of Daniel Jones and let the fans know we're not trying to win this year. We're really trying to build, usher in a new era, bring in guys like Ike Ekwonu, bring in guys like Joe Feliciano and some other, I forget his name from Kansas City right now. Bring in a couple of guys like that, right? And build out a team that is going to be worthy of a rebuild. Because to me, it's like I know people like want to keep Daniel Jones. I'm not trying to get rid of Daniel Jones because I don't like Daniel Jones. I was a guy who loved Daniel Jones. My point is that I don't want to waste this guy's time to then just be like, well, we're going to get rid of you anyways. Nice knowing you, Dan. Thanks for the 1 year of service. Here's a medium soda. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I'm like, why waste his time? Why not try to get him to go someplace where he can do something with his career? Like a Pat Shermer type of offense. I don't know. Pat Shermer's not on Denver anymore, but like I know there's a team that's going to be a sucker and going to take him for a 5th round pick, right? So that's why I'm trying. I'm just trying to get rid of guys now, get something for them, draft my players, and then next year when I have money, that's when I can, go get my quarterback, go spend money on actual weapons and fill in the blanks that's left over. Because if you think they're going to finish this offensive line in one off season, you've got to be kidding me. I don't care how many guys you draft. You got to be kidding me. I'm serious.
Well, before we wrap up the football talk, man, we've been going hard on football for like the last about 45 minutes. I feel like. But before we wrap up the football talk,
Hey, the
man, let's
people want what they want.
Yeah, one more thing I haven't asked you really about directly. How do you feel about the Deshaun Watson saga, man? What do you think he may possibly his most possible landing point is?
Well, for me, the saga was always the saga, right? Like we all knew this was. I wouldn't say this was coming, but I felt like I didn't think he was going to be guilty, right? We waited a year to find out that he's not convicted of anything, right? In terms of criminally. Now, civilly, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the details are, and I don't know what you can do in a civil case without lack of evidence, right? So the NFL is going to be the next main hurdle, and if he gets suspended, that makes the team. Now, I think his best fit for me personally is Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is the perfect fit for Deshaun Watson. Will they get him? No, because I don't think the Texans want to trade him to an AFC team and God forbid he wins the Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers. People are going to hate the Texans owner. But for me, the perfect fit, ideally, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm calling up Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh team, and I'm like, yo, what do you want? What do you want from me? How do I get here? Because your team is ready-made. He walks in to a team that has a running back, a good defense, solid offensive line, and you walk right into that team. I know they're going to have to give up some stuff, but right now you got the Panthers, and let's just talk about the Panthers, and I think the Saints. I think there's a few teams like that who want him. I think the Panthers are the team that is going to go all out for him. I thought Washington was going to go out for him. I thought that would be his landing spot, but those idiots took Carson Wentz, like a really dumb organization does, right? I could see him going. Again, the AFC is off limits because the Texans don't want to do that. So for me, I want to see what Pittsburgh can do. I want to see what the Panthers can do. I think there's another team in the NFC, maybe possibly the Saints are trying to get him as well, which might be, they're a ready-made team. They got a new coach. Who knows? Who knows? But to me, I think he'll end up in the NFC. He's going to, as long as he doesn't end up in the NFC East, I don't care what he does. And people are going to know. I think he might be ending up with the Eagles. That's another team that's been sniffing around the Deshaun Watson tree. And if he ends up with the Eagles, I'm sorry, folks. Those people who think Deshaun Watson is garbage, caca, doo-doo, or whatever you want to call him, you're going to get a real ugly taste of reality. Mac, you want to boot this guy in the chat?
Well, I think the Panthers would be a good fit for him. To be honest, I mean they're said to be they're going to be pretty aggressive in pursuit of him. I think it will be a pretty decent fit, man. Myself personally, I mean they have offensively with better quarterback play. That team would have been competitive down in the NFC South this past season, man. With better quarterback play.
Thanks, Logan.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Logan. But I have, because I feel like they have. I mean, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, that speaks for himself. That's already a big name.
Are they going to be able to keep him? Like, we don't know what the trade. I mean, if the Texans are like, yeah, we want McCaffrey, I mean, they're going to want something back. I mean, look what Russell Wilson got. They're going to want something back.
I mean, yeah, I hear that, man. But let's say they are able to keep him though in this, because I would believe the Panthers aren't going to. They would at least attempt to hang on to him and not make him part of this deal. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I see what you're saying. It makes a whole lot of sense. But let's say hypothetically they can keep Christian McCaffrey. You gotta think they got. I mean, they had DJ Moore. They got the other kid from LSU a couple years ago, Terrence Marshall. I mean, they got a couple good receivers there, man. I mean, honestly, that would probably be Deshaun Watson's best supporting cast overall. I mean, I know we had DeAndre Hopkins, but that was just one guy. I mean, I'm talking about an overall supporting cast. I feel like Carolina's weapons would be probably the best Deshaun Watson would have ever had to work with, man. And we already know what he can do with lesser talent than what he would have if he was with Carolina.
Man, listen, if Carolina has to mortgage the farm, so you mortgage the farm. Because I hate when people and I'll say this. You're getting a proven commodity in Deshaun Watson. Now, I don't know what he did over this past year. If he worked out, I can't tell you what he did because I'm not Deshaun Watson. But if you were telling me from 2020, the guy that I got, and you bring him in here, you don't worry about first round picks. Because first round bust rates are 50-50. You get a guy, you have a 50-50 chance that he's going to be good or he's going to be bad. You know what I mean? You don't need to know or worry about Deshaun Watson. You already know that motherfucker's good. So you take him and you run and you say, hey, I got our guy. And you don't worry about giving him the first round picks because guess what? Nobody knows if they're going to be good. I'm sorry, Curse. I was gotten a little fired up there. So sorry, kiddos.
That's all good, man. But
that's me, man.
You
But I know you
got
want
any
to
more final thoughts on the week in the NFL, man? We can get ready to move on.
Yeah, final thoughts are people get ready. The frenzy begins at 12 p.m. tomorrow, so you'll know more about what's happening at 12 p.m. Tune in.
That's right. It's going to be another fun week. All right, we can move on. Talk a little bit briefly about maybe some of the NBA stuff going on, man. This past week, we had a big game in Philly, man. Ben Simmons returned to Philadelphia, not as a spectator mostly because he didn't play. He just decided to come and sit on the bench with his teammates from Brooklyn, man. They absolutely went down to Philly and trashed the Sixers after the Philadelphia crowd let Ben Simmons have it. Soon after that, the Brooklyn Nets just went on the court and just took care of business on the court and in a very hostile environment, man. And just how do you feel about this Brooklyn team looking like since Kevin Durant has returned from injury, man? They're starting to click on all cylinders, and Kyrie Irving is also just elevating his game once again. It's unfortunate with his situation, I believe, not being vaccinated. He certain cities he's not even allowed to go to and travel to with the team. Unfortunately, like when they played Toronto, he can't even go to Canada at all. But how do you feel? How do you feel about these about that?
First off, they need to figure the F out because the NFL dropped their COVID protocols. So I don't understand why all of a sudden the NBA can't. So I mean, they're trying to make a point. Fine, make a point. I don't really care. As far as the Nets go right now, though, man, Kevin Durant, I watched the Nets, and this is funny that we talk about this. I watched the Nets last week, and they were like 11th seed in the Eastern Conference. I come back this week, and they're the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. And so I'm just like, well, they're going to make their move. This is the time they're going to make that move. And Kevin Durant had like 49 points tonight. He might have had more, but thanks to the TV that I pay for, thanks, cable bill, I pay you and you still cut out, right? Thanks to my crappy cable, I missed the last minute of the game. I know they beat the Knicks today, but I don't know how much he ended up with. The last I saw, he had 49 points. So if he's going to drop 49, this team is good. And I think with Andre Drummond, with Patty Mills and a few other guys on this team, I think they have the formidable arsenal to keep up with these teams. And I think teams like Brooklyn, you're going to see start to make a surge because the NBA is such a grind, right? It's a long season. It's not the NFL where every game matters, but it's still a long 82-game season. So now if you're an A seed, right, the A seed, who are they playing? They play the number 1 seed. Right now they'd be playing the Miami Heat, right? So I'd rather have them play the Miami Heat than a team they can't play well against, and that's Milwaukee. So I'm not saying they're going to cruise to the 28th seed, but we have about 3 weeks left in the season, 4 weeks left to go in the year. And now's the time for the New Jersey Nets. New Jersey Nets, look at me. The Brooklyn Nets to make their move, right? And I think Kevin Durant puts them over the top. I think a big win against the Knicks today pushes them over the top. I know Boston is still doing pretty well. I know they're fighting and stuff. So it's going to be fun for me. It's going to be fun. I'm a Nets fan. It's going to be fun watching them, kind of get back in this race, so to speak. The Knicks, if I'm the Knicks fan, man, I don't know what to do with myself because every year they're a tease. They're like, oh, we're going to be good, and they end up stinking, right? And there's no, I feel like they're the Giants, but worse. Like, the Giants, I feel like all New York sports suck right now. Minus, maybe the Islanders. The Rangers are okay, but nobody likes hockey in that realm that way. That's why the Rangers are in 4th place. They just brought baseball back, so the Yankees are going to be here. So we'll see what happens. But if I'm a Knicks fan, man, I'm crushed. Hey, you got Randall, you got Who's that big dude? I forget his name. They're not Randall. The other JT Barrett. You got those two players in there, and then your team's not bad. You got Tibbs, a coach who everybody loved the signing. It's almost like the Mets getting Buck Showalter, right? You got a manager you could get behind, yeah, woo, and all of a sudden you get your 12th in the Eastern Conference, and you're like, what do I have to do to make the playoffs?
Well, it's like you're right. Knicks are an absolute. They just can't seem to get out of their own way any given season. But I always want to talk about this Philly team, man, because that game against Brooklyn was eye opening to me with this Philly team, man, because it's just a sign of things to come as we enter the playoffs, man. Will this team continue to struggle against the better competition? I mean, Brooklyn had their struggles during the season, and they made on paper look like. I mean, as far as in the standings, look like they're not such a great team. But let's all face it, man. They got one of the absolute best players in the world on their team, and they got Kyrie Irving as well, who is no normal Robin. You know what I mean? By no means.
Right.
So that's a formidable Brooklyn team. Sixers got trashed at home the other night
But
in a big game. And I just want to know, like, everybody's been hyped with this James Harden trade and what the
Harden
Sixers were doing
stinks.
the first few games with James Harden. But they went out there and they got embarrassed the other night on their home court in a big game in which the environment definitely favored them. But the results of the game.
Here's where I'm going to go with that, Mac. They are a soft team mentally. You bring in James Harden. When has he done well? Like in a big game, when has he done well? He was brought to the Rockets to put them over the top. Not once did they make the NBA Finals. He was brought to Brooklyn to put them over the top. What did he do in the Eastern Conference Finals? I think you know where I'm going with this.
I totally know where you're going.
So now you got Joel Embiid, who's let's be honest, not mentally prepared to have that killer instinct, and you have James Harden, who again doesn't have killer instinct. And so for me, I'm not surprised them getting trounced. You know, it is the ebb and flow of the season, but I'm not surprised they're getting trounced. And I wouldn't put it past them to get bounced in the first round of the playoffs. I wouldn't. You know, depending on where their seeding lands. Because to me, James Harden is the most overrated ball player in the NBA. He's flash and dash, but sometimes he doesn't even flash. You know, you know who he reminds me of, and maybe you'll know this name, Jamal Crawford.
Oh, absolutely.
See, Jamal Crawford is one of those players who you love on your team, but you hate to have him on your team sometimes because there's nights where he drops 40, and you're like, damn, we're going someplace. The next night he has 0. The next night he has 2. Then he has 10, 15, and then all of a sudden again explodes for 30 points. A guy who should be
in his defense, I would say that Jamal Crawford built a career of being a 6-man, whereas James Harden is an expected like star.
Well,
he's just supposed to be the superstar, the man.
If you want to be honest, he started as a 6-man. He came off the bench in Oklahoma.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
And he was good in that role.
And right, he was. Mac, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say he was great as a 6-man because he had no pressure on him. He didn't have to be the guy. All he had to do was go out there, facilitate the offense, score points when he needed to. Now he's being asked to do so much more. And now he also has a big man who has a bit of a complex in terms of, I think he's a little, and this is okay, he's just a little mentally soft. You know? I mean, Joel Embiid can do a lot of stuff. The one thing I don't see him do is have a killer instinct. You know? I think you can get into his head too easily. Look at that series against Milwaukee. He was too busy worried about, chirping to the other team that it took away from his actual game. And then he missed free throws down the stretch, which kills everybody. So now you're bringing James Harden to a team in Philadelphia. Yeah, sure, you got rid of Ben Simmons, but let's be honest, Ben Simmons wasn't really the issue. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals with Ben Simmons. They had a good team with him. He just couldn't score for the life of him. Now, I don't know why if you're a guard you can't score for the life of you, but hey, he played decent defense. But now you're bringing James Harden, and I know Logan says he's the Evan Ingram of the NBA. I wouldn't even like don't dog James Harden like that. Okay, he's better than Evan Ingram. The problem with James Harden is that I can't rely on him as a superstar. That's my problem. He had Westbrook, he had Durant, great, right? Same thing with Westbrook. Westbrook is a similar player. The thing that different than Westbrook is he's a little tougher to the rim. He has more slash.
Yeah.
Why do you think Kevin Durant is still doing well on the Brooklyn Nets and we got the Philadelphia 76ers struggling?
I think when you start talking about Kevin Durant, though, that's a whole different stratosphere anyway. Kevin Durant is absolutely in the conversation
Right.
for the best in the world. I mean,
Yes,
legitimately
I think
in that
that's
conversation.
Well, what I'm saying is, let's look at James Harden's trajectory, right? And all the guys who have left that Oklahoma City Big Three when they took, I forget who they took to the Game 7 of the final. I think it was the Spurs or something like that. They took Game 7 that one year before they all broke up. Let's see what happens, right? Maybe it was Golden State. It might have been Golden State. I don't know. But the point is that Kevin Durant left, won a championship with Golden State, right? What did Harden do? Harden left, and he went to Mike D'Antoni's run and gun basketball fun offense, and he failed there to get him over the hump. And it wasn't because he wasn't good. In the regular season, he was dropping shots from all over. It was come playoff time, he was nowhere to be found. And that's how you define a great player. Why is Tom Brady great? Not because he throws touchdowns, because he comes up big when his team needs him the most.
No one comes up bigger.
Look at Eli Manning. Well, he may be laughed at and giggled at and have a 500 record. But guess what? Give me 2 minutes, game on the line, and the biggest game of our lives. Who am I taking? I'm taking Eli Manning.
Taking Eli over anybody in that situation. I don't give a damn what nobody says.
Maybe even Joe Montana, just because. But my point is, Eli Manning inside 2 minutes. What are you saying to yourself right now, Mac? I got this.
Absolutely.
James Harden, I can't say that about. I can't say that giving him the ball like Dwayne Wade, I can say that about. He's gonna finish the game for me. Kevin Durant,
absolutely.
I can say that about. He's gonna finish the game for me. Kobe Bryant,
right. Kobe was gonna finish.
Jordan's gonna finish the game.
Kobe was gonna step on your throat.
Exactly. Even Pippen will finish the game for me. James Harden doesn't finish the game, and the only reason he's not up there with like LeBron is because he doesn't have the talent of LeBron. LeBron's not a finisher. Okay, he's just not. I don't care what anybody tells me. He's not a finisher. He doesn't want the ball inside 2 minutes. He happens to get the ball because he's the best player, but he's not going to be like, oh, let me just kill you right now, right? Jordan is like, I want the ball. Give it to me. I'm going to win this game. The game's going to go through me.
LeBron rather get the game-winning assist as opposed to the game-winning score.
Exactly. It's like, okay, because you know why? The pressure's not as big. You don't miss the shot, you can't get blamed. And he's one of those guys that needs to be blamed. I'm saying, I'm being real with you, Mac. Jordan would never pass up the game-winning shot. Kobe would never pass up the game-winning shot.
Kobe would get mad if he didn't get the game-winning shot.
Exactly. He would be like, Phil, what are you doing? Why are you giving it to freaking Donyell Marshall when you have the best player on the planet?
Donyell Marshall, wow.
Had to throw out a name. You know what I mean? Like, and so you got James Harden here who, I feel like every time I watched him in Houston, he always had like this like itchy butthole look on his face. Like he didn't wipe right or something like that. And he would always walk up to D'Antoni like looking like, what am I doing here? How can you help me? You know what I mean? He always looks like his ass is irritated. You know what I mean? And then with the Nets, what did he do? He didn't do anything. Kevin Durant is out and Kyrie Irving's out. Kevin Durant comes back next year, mind you, off a bad Achilles. And we have James Harden not showing up again in the playoffs. They needed a second scorer against Milwaukee, and they had no. Damn near Kevin Durant put the Brooklyn Nets in the finals.
He
by having like 40+ games every night. If you gave James Harden one of those games, maybe they're in the NBA Finals. Well, and then the other question I was asking back is, why is his tenure with every team always traded? Why is he always the first to go?
That's a good point. Another very good point. I mean, like I said, I've been saying a player of his caliber, why is he moving around so much the last couple of years in general, period? I mean,
Right.
Said now on his
Not like he
second
was free
team
agent.
in a year.
Like he's gotten traded multiple times. I mean, Kevin Durant, he was like, all right, my contract's up in Oklahoma City. I'm going to go to Golden State, right?
Yeah.
I think James Harden was, I don't know if he was, I think he was traded to, and I want to look it up to give it the right information, to the Houston, or he signed with them. But then he got traded out of Houston. So they gave him a max contract, and he still is out the league. That's what you have to ask yourself. Kevin Durant went as a free agent to Brooklyn. There's a difference. When you choose to go to a team is different than when you get yourself forced on a team.
True. True indeed. Well, I don't know if we can ready to wrap this topic up. If you like, we can have any more final thoughts on the NBA moving
Nah,
forward
just
this week.
go Brooklyn, and James Harden is a joke. Shave the beard.
Tell them how you really feel, Adam. Tell them how you really feel, bro.
Shave the beard, James Harden. Shave the beard.
Well, we're gonna get to. It is selection. So has been selection Sunday. The brackets are now available. NCAA tournament March Madness will kick off Tuesday night with the first four in. I mean, the first four, like the last four in games playing the first round, whatever they want to call it. The teams that got to play an extra game. That starts on Tuesday night, man. That's gonna be getting started. We got the 4 number 1 seeds, man. We got Baylor in the East, Arizona in the South, Kansas in the Midwest, and Gonzaga out West. And Gonzaga is also the number 1 seed overall in the tournament. Is this the year that Gonzaga Zags can get over that hump and finally win the NCAA tournament? They've been so close the last couple of years. Heartbreaking loss to Baylor last year in the championship game.
John Stockton's spirit will live on.
So, I mean, you have any thoughts at all on March Madness, Adam, man?
Listen, I am a little weak in this department, but I will say I am going to go and play a bracket with you this year because Selection Sunday is great. I'm going to go with Arizona. Maybe Kansas, maybe Baylor. I like Gonzaga. I'm gonna go with Gonzaga. I'm gonna say right now on this show, right now, Preeminent Takes, Gonzaga wins it all. I know I'm probably gonna have egg on my face, but I'm gonna say
that's
that
not
right
a bad pick, Adam. That's not nobody's. That's. I mean, they're number 1 seed overall in the tournament for a reason, man. They play in what they consider a mid-major conference, but Gonzaga, and to be quite frank, a couple other teams in that conference, a team called St. Mary's that also received an at-large bid in the tournament, have elevated the level of play in that conference, man. The West Coast Conference has certainly emerged and is becoming quite the powerhouse, and Gonzaga is the best team in the nation, well deserved.
But that doesn't always mean you're going to win. And like you said, they haven't punched their ticket to a championship yet. So I'm thinking this is the year. I'm going to be calling up John Stockton and saying, yo, you need to send all your prayers, do your juju, do your little dance, because this team needs to do it. I mean, I remember they had Adam Morrison back in the day. Now I'm dating myself, people with Gonzaga. But, I'm going to pick them, and I'm hoping that they can. I know everyone's like, oh, you're picking a first-round team. That's not really anything, but it's one thing when you're a first-round team. It's another thing when you're a first-round team and you've never won a championship. It makes it that much harder every year because you're expected to win, right? So for me, let's see how they get through it. There's going to be a lot of teams gunning for them, and if they don't slip up, maybe they end up in the Final Four, maybe they end up in the Final Two, and who knows? Maybe they're holding the trophy up at the end of the year.
I'm going to tell you what, Logan, man. Virginia Tech definitely had an amazing run through the ACC tournament. They got hot at the right time. They absolutely had to win the ACC tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. I believe they would not have received an at-large bid if they didn't win the tournament, the ACC tournament. So hats off to Virginia Tech. But it's going to be a tough road for them throughout the March. Man, I can't remember what region they're in, but we're about to actually pull a bracket up and fill a bracket out right here live on Premium Takes. It's gonna be our official Premium Takes bracket, and
we're going to follow this throughout the tournament, people.
A couple of things I just wanted to touch on in tournament. I love the upsets, man, that we usually get
Yes,
in
I
round
do.
one. And I've been noticing like over the past few years, a lot of upsets come from the 5-12 games. And I'm looking at these regions in the East region in the 5-12 game this year. In the East region, we got the same team I was just talking about, St. Mary's from out the West Coast Conference. St. Mary's versus the winner between Wyoming and Indiana. I believe they play on Wednesday or Tuesday night, I believe. So they'll get the winner of that game in the 5-12 matchup, man. And I'm gonna tell you what, if Indiana, especially if Indiana was to win that game, that's gonna be a tough matchup for St. Mary's. Indiana will be definitely more than capable of knocking them off. Indiana has also gotten a little bit warm late in the season. And then in the South region in the 5-12 matchup, we got Houston versus UAB, man, out of the Conference USA. Another experienced team in UAB at the 12 seed, man. Once again, not going to be just an easy matchup for Houston, but that one may, I think out of the 5-12 matchup, that's the one that I'm less likely to think I'm going to see an upset, man. In
This is
the
why I
Midwest
like
region, we got Iowa versus the Richmond Spiders out of the A-10. Richmond hasn't been to the tournament since 2011. So first time back in the tournament. And they got there by winning their conference tournament, which they were not favored to do either. So they're a scrappy, resilient team, and it's going to prove to be a tough matchup for Iowa as well. And then in the Western region in the 5-12 game, we got the Yukon Huskies versus the New Mexico State. I believe they're the Aggies out of the WAC. New Mexico
mind if I
State.
pick
I
a
just watched
second
this team. Excuse me.
Do you mind if I pick a second team as well? Because I'm originally from Connecticut, so I'm going to also put my hat on the Yukon Huskies as well.
That's fine, man. That's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're in the same region as Gonzaga, but that's going to be there's going if they were to meet Gonzaga, I believe it would be maybe in the Sweet 16, possibly, or the Elite 8. I can't remember. But
Well, I'm excited to do this bracket with you, man. I don't really do one, so this is exciting for me.
yeah, so we always usually see at least one or two upsets come from those 5-12 matchups. It just seems to be a common trend, and once again, man, there's some tough. It's going to be some tough matchups for these 5 seeds, man, against these 12 seeds. But I'm going to get ready to try to pull this bracket up and hope my internet does not give me any more issues.
Man,
It's been
Zion,
pissing me off all day.
I wish Zion was here. If Zion, if you're here, let us know. Maybe we can get your take on this bracket here. I know you're moving and you might be listening to us, and we're waiting on you, but we're hoping you're doing all right. And I feel like picking the bracket without him, it feels like bad news. But hey, you know what? Let's do it. Folks are waiting.
Well, I'm going to bring the bracket up, man, right now.
Oh, snap.
And we're going to start with the West region.
Don't mind the UAB team people. It automatically moved over, so we'll just keep them there, right? Or Gonzaga, right?
Yeah, so we got in the West region, the 1-16 matchup, we got Gonzaga versus Georgia State. Georgia State, they won the Sun Belt Conference. They are a 16 seed. They are the lowest seed overall in this tournament. They got a tough matchup against Gonzaga. So we're going to move Gonzaga on over, which we already did. Then we got the 8-9 matchup in the West. Boise State versus Memphis.
I'm going to go with Boise State.
You want to go with Boise State on that? Boise State is the 8 seed over Memphis. Memphis is a tough team, but Boise State has also been playing some really inspired basketball. So I agree with you on that. We'll move Boise State on over. Now we got the 5-12 matchup, the Yukon Huskies versus the New Mexico State.
Ooh.
I got to go with Yukon here.
Well, I'll go with you.
Then we move down. We got the 4-13 matchup. Got Arkansas Razorbacks versus the Vermont Catamouts.
Vermont.
Let me tell you about Vermont. They're 13 seed, but this is a team that has absolutely dominated their conference for the better part of the last 10 years or so. So this is no slouch of a team out the American East. They're a 13 seed because they are, small conference school and they don't play the toughest of schedules. But this is not going to be a cakewalk for Arkansas. But at the same time, I'm going to move Arkansas all over. I don't think Vermont's going to have quite enough to knock them off.
Vermont. I'm weak to laugh, but it's Vermont.
Are you okay with moving Arkansas all over, Adam?
Oh man, yeah, okay, yeah. Vermont. I don't think Vermont has much of a shot.
All right, now here we go. We're going down to the 6-11 matchup in the West. And we got Alabama Crimson Tide, and they will be taking on the winner of Rutgers and Notre Dame. I believe they're playing on Wednesday night in that first round matchup Wednesday night.
Ooh.
So, how do you like? I'm honestly thinking that the winner of this Rutgers Notre Dame game might actually knock off Alabama in the first round. That's going to be a tough matchup for Alabama. Either way.
So there's two teams playing to play Alabama. Is that why I can't see the opponent?
Well, they got to play. It's like there's 4 games between Tuesday and Wednesday night. They call it the first round. They're like all the last teams that got consideration that got into the tournament, basically. So they got to play in the first round games.
Right. Okay, well, I will take. I guess I won't take Bama. I'll take the other team.
So you want to go with
Yes.
Rutgers and Notre Dame?
Yes. I think,
right,
you said, I think the winner of that team is going to beat Bama, so we might as well put them in there. We don't have a defined winner right now, so whoever wins that game will beat Alabama.
All right, then we got the 3-14 seed. We got 3-14 matchup. It's Texas Tech, the 3 seed, out of the Big 12, taking on Montana State. Montana State won they won their conference tournament. I can't find which conference they were in. Oh, the Big Sky Conference.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with Texas Tech.
Texas Tech is definitely, I feel like, going to roll Montana in this game.
I feel like sometimes in these teams that play, it really does matter that you play big teams. And what I'm saying is like in college football, sometimes you're matched up against a team that just is flat out better than you. And I think, Texas Tech is going to be flat out better than Montana State.
Absolutely. We got now we got the 7-10 matchup. Good, interesting game here. We got the Michigan State Spartans, the 7 seed, taking on Davidson. Davidson, the most famous thing I know Davidson for is that's where Steph Curry went.
Right, exactly. But again, for my same logic as I did with Texas Tech, sometimes you meet a team that just has better horses than you, and I think Michigan State's going to win the game.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that one. Davidson's a pretty tough team, though. They're no slouches.
Yeah, well, for me,
they're actually an at-large team. They didn't win their conference tournament. They got the at-large bid.
Right. So they punched their ticket the way in, right? But I just feel like a team like Michigan State, sometimes, you get the best talent for a reason. And not saying Davidson is not a good school or doesn't deserve to be here, but to me, sometimes I look at these big game matchups and these kids just can't play with them. They're just not. They may have one player. And Michigan State may have 4 players that are good or really.
I agree. I mean, obviously, Michigan State is a far more talented basketball team. So I totally agree with you there. And then we got one more first-round matchup in the West, and that is the Duke Blue Devils taking on Cal State Fullerton, the Big West Conference champions.
I'm going to go with Cal West Fullerton.
This is Duke's Coach K's last tournament. He is retiring at the end of this season. So
I think his season ends this week.
Excuse me?
I think his season ends this week.
You think?
I'm going to go with the team that you just said who won the Big West Conference. I'm going with them.
Over Duke?
I'm just having fun. I feel like
we'll punch it in. I'll punch it in. If you want to punch it in, I'll punch it in.
Go ahead.
This is the beauty of doing the brackets.
That's this.
I'm punching it in. Cal State Fullerton upsets Duke. 15 seed over a number 2.
I know. Maybe our bracket gets busted, and maybe next week, Max, you're going to laugh at me and say, "Adam, why'd you do that?" But I don't know, man. We had picked an upset all up and down on the West, and I feel like this is the upset game of the week.
All right, we're going to finish up the West now. We'll finish up the West. Go on to the second round matchups. We got Gonzaga against Boise State. I really still like Gonzaga here, man.
Gonzaga here.
They're just a really good basketball team. Very talented.
Imagine if I'm right. This will do to you. Oh my God. I'm gonna
then we got the UConn Huskies versus Arkansas Razorbacks.
I'm gonna go with
UConn. Like here.
UConn.
You want to go UConn, the sentimental favorite there? UConn, there you go.
Exactly.
I'll move them up there for you.
Boom.
Setting up a Gonzaga UConn matchup in the Sweet 16.
That's gonna be good.
We got for the sake of this, I'm gonna say Notre Dame wins that game on Wednesday. So we'll say Notre Dame against Texas Tech.
Notre Dame against Texas Tech. I don't know. I think I'll go with Notre Dame.
You said you want to go with who?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is will be an 11 seed. Texas Tech is a 3 seed.
Oh, never mind then. Sorry, Texas Tech.
You want to take Texas Tech instead?
Yes.
I like Texas Tech too. Notre Dame is
I want one
they're
upset.
wishy-washy. They're up and down, but Texas Tech I think is just right now playing just so much better basketball. And now we have that number 7 Michigan State versus number 15 Cal State Fullerton.
I think Michigan State ends Kyle Fullerton's magical run here.
I totally agree with you on that.
Who would you have picked if it was Duke Michigan State? Just curiosity.
I might have still picked Michigan State. Duke has been fumbling the ball lately. They just they did make it to the they made it to the ACC finals in the tournament, but they struggled getting there. I mean, Miami almost beat them in the semifinals. They struggled against Syracuse in the quarterfinals of that tournament, and they absolutely got handled by Virginia Tech in the ACC finals last night. So Duke has been struggling a little bit. So I would have picked Michigan State over Duke, and I would have still had Michigan State moving on to the Sweet 16.
All right, cool.
Which that's where we're at now. We got Gonzaga versus UConn, number 1 seed versus number 5 seed.
Ooh. It's between the team I want to represent and my heartstrings. I'm going to go with the team that represents, and that's Gonzaga.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
I'm going to go with Gonzaga.
Gonzaga? Let's do Gonzaga, man. I'm with you. I support that decision.
Sometimes you got to let your loyalties go.
So now we got Texas Tech versus Michigan State.
Oh.
Number 3 Texas Tech, number 7 Michigan State.
Ooh, this is tough for me.
This would be awesome if this actually ends up coming down to this matchup.
I'm reluctantly going to go with Texas Tech.
You said you want to go with Michigan State?
No, I said I'm reluctantly going with Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, okay. I like that decision. And get that makes sets up the Elite 8 matchup. Gonzaga versus Texas Tech. Which one is going to the Final Four? Gonzaga, number 1 Gonzaga, or number 3 Texas Tech?
Gonzaga's going.
Got Gonzaga going to the Final Four.
Yep.
So we got Gonzaga winning the West. So we can move over to the South region now. In the South, man, number 1 seed in the South, the Arizona Wildcats. Welcome back to the top of the brackets, fellas. And they will be taking on the winner on Tuesday night between Wright and Bryant.
Okay.
I know. You can't. I mean, I don't know. Wright State is out of the Horizon League, and Bryant is out of the Northeast Conference. They won their conference tournaments, but they are 16 seeds. They are a 16 seed, whichever one wins.
No disrespect to that team, but one of those two teams is not going very far. We'll pick Arizona.
We're going to go Arizona there. Yeah, I don't think we're going to put much thought into that. There's only been one time where a 1 seed has lost to a 16 seed in the tournament. So, yeah, I'm very comfortable moving Arizona over there.
Did you read the names of the colleges you just read?
All right. And then in an 8-9 game in the South region, we got Seton Hall versus TCU. This is going to be a fun game.
I am living.
Seton Hall is the 8 seed. TCU is the 9 seed.
Well,
I kind of want to move TCU over.
Ooh, but I can't break my jersey ties with Seton Hall.
You want to? We can do it. I mean, I'm with it. This is, like I said, the beauty of this.
You don't have any money on this, right? I'm not going to cost you anything.
This is no money at all. This is just for fun, man.
Okay, then we'll put in Seton Hall.
We're gonna move Seton Hall over the 8 seed Seton Hall.
Just because they're in my home state, and I got to root for the hometown guys. So.
All right, then we got at the 5-12 matchup here. We got the Houston Cougars against the UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. A scrappy basketball team down in Conference USA, but Houston has been on fire as of late.
I'm going to stick with Houston. I was going to make this my upset of the West of the South, but I'll stick with Houston. Let's just keep it chalk.
I'm going to go Houston on there. I can support that decision. And then here we go with the 4-13 matchup: the Illinois Fighting Illini versus Tennessee Chattanooga. Let me tell you about this Tennessee Chattanooga basketball team. They are going to go out swinging, no matter what. You're going to get their best shot each and every night on the court. This is a team that won the Southern Conference. They won in dramatic fashion on a buzzer beater in their conference final tournament. And this is not as easy a matchup for Illinois as it may appear.
Well, then this is the one that we'll take the special on. So I'm going to take Chattanooga just for fun.
Just for fun, this is what I like doing for just for fun as well. Because you know what? At the end of the day, all of these favorite teams are not going to win. Someone's getting upset. That's why I love this tournament, because it's awesome, and you get to see shit like that. And maybe that will happen.
And I'm picking 2 upsets on each side, and that was my upset.
So now we got the number 6 seed Colorado State, whatever they are, and the number 11 Michigan Wolverines.
I think the Colorado State Rams.
Colorado State, that's what they are, exactly. That was great.
I'm going to go with my 5 Michigan.
We're taking Michigan here?
Yeah.
All right. We'll move Michigan on over, representing the Big Ten, who, by the way, has the most teams in this tournament. The Big Ten represent with 9 teams in this tournament this year. So big up.
Listen, I know a lot of the chat's not going to agree, and Max being very generous because he's probably rolling his eyes like, I'm not picking that team on my bracket, but we're doing a premium takes bracket, so we're going to have a little fun with it.
I agree. I see you in the chat too, Logan, man. UAB is a physical team, man, and they're going to be. It's going to be an interesting matchup for Houston, man.
Really, you think UAB is going to, Mac? You think UAB will have a chance?
I think they have a chance, but Houston has been playing really good basketball lately. So, I mean, it's not. I'm not sure if I'm ready to pick UAB to beat them, but Houston has been playing some good basketball lately. Next, we got the 3-14 matchup out of the South and Southern Conference. We got the Tennessee Volunteers, the number 3, and we got the Longwood Lancers from the Big South Conference. The Longwood Lancers at 14 seed.
Where do they come up with these names?
And before we even pick this game, I mean, Tennessee is at a ball of fire. I cannot, with the right my sense of mind, pick Longwood to beat them, but just for the record, Longwood is one of the more experienced teams in this tournament as far as having like seniors on their team, mature, experienced guys that just know how to play together and know how to win. It wouldn't be shocking to me if Longwood found a way to win this game.
I'm sorry, I can't say their name's Longwood.
But Tennessee, I can't seriously.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. And all the people at Longwood, if you're watching the stream, I'm no disrespect to you, but I just think you're going to get smoked.
Yeah, I'm gonna move Tennessee on over here too, man. Tennessee is a really good basketball team, man. And honestly, if they wouldn't have had a hiccup in the SEC tournament, man, if they would have been able to pull that off, they'd have probably been they probably would have been a 2 seed with ease.
And again, I don't want to laugh at these kids because you earned your right to be there. So prove me wrong, right? Prove the guy that laughing at you wrong. But it just to me, sometimes these teams, are the Longwood Lancers. I mean, come on. No one big is going there. I'm sorry. No one's like going down the list of colleges. Let me go to Longwood Lancers.
All right. The 7-10 matchup is another fun one. Another fun matchup here. We got the Ohio State University at number 7 versus number 10 seeded Loyola of Chicago. I'm picking another upset here myself personally.
I'm gonna go
Ohio State has a way. They're notorious for dropping the ball in the NCAA tournament.
I'm gonna go Loyola. Did you hear me?
I can hear you.
I said Loyola.
You want to pick Loyola here?
Yes.
I agree with that. Longwood was your name back in college, Logan?
He's not even in college. In a previous life, it was called that. I mean, who thought of that? This is Longwood College. You don't want to go to Shortwood College. Yeah.
and then we got the 2-15 matchup in the South, and this one is one that's a little tough for me, man, because we got my Villanova Wildcats, man, number 2 seed Villanova Wildcats taking on my University of Delaware Blue Hens as well. I live in Delaware. I live 15 minutes away from the University of Delaware campus, man. Wow, and I was so upset to see these guys got matched up against each other in the first round because I feel like Villanova is going to trash them.
Oh man, Mac, I feel for you, man. I wish this was a different game so we could have put them both in like maybe the Sweet 16 or something. But I'm gonna go with Villanova, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Villanova, the Big East champions. I just think it's just too much. I think they got too much firepower for UD, unfortunately.
UD.
All right, now we can get to the second round action here in the South. We got Arizona, number 1 ranked Arizona versus number 8 Seton Hall.
Ooh, well, that's where the Jersey team stops. Going with Arizona.
You gonna go with Arizona here?
Yep.
Let's go. And then we got the Houston Cougars versus the Tennessee Chattanooga.
This is where
5-13 matchup.
This is where Houston advances.
You like Houston here? I like Houston here too as well. Now we got number 11 Michigan versus number 3 Tennessee.
I'll go with the Volunteers.
Yeah, I think they're just playing just way better basketball right now. University of Michigan has been struggling a lot lately, and I just can't really see them advancing past Tennessee. And then we got the Loyola Chicago versus Villanova. And I'm going to tell you what, if this is the matchup for Villanova, this could be a tough matchup for Villanova.
Well, I'm still going to go with the Wildcat. Villanova, I'm still going to go with them. So I can't.
I support that decision.
I know
Loyola Chicago will not be having another magical run this season.
I know we had that old lady who we're always rooting for, sitting up there and doing her thing. But I think, I just can't see Villanova not getting there.
I agree. Totally agree with you there. So now we got Arizona. Yeah, Arizona versus Houston in the Sweet 16.
Ooh. I'm going with Arizona here.
Arizona all the way here. All right.
Yeah, I think the Wildcats are destined for greatness here.
And then we got Tennessee Volunteers versus Villanova.
I know Tennessee is pretty good, but I'm riding with you, Mac. I'm getting on that Villanova train.
You're
I don't like much in
gonna.
Philly, but I'll get on that train with you.
All right, that's gonna be another. That'll be a tough matchup for Villanova as well, tennis. But I like the fact that you're supporting my guys, man. Which means we're down to the Elite Eight matchup here, and we got the Arizona Wildcats versus the Villanova.
Who's
The
punching
hell,
their
I don't.
ticket? Ooh, I'm going to flip a
Are we
coin
gonna
here.
pick an upset special here? The
Yes,
top two teams in this
just
region.
do it. Just do it. Just put
Let's
it.
do
Punch
it. Okay,
Villanova's ticket.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna send Villanova to the Final Four, baby. Let's go.
Ooh, that's right. That's right.
And now we're gonna break down the East region.
I knew there was something else. It said 30 of 63. I said, we missing something.
Oh no, we only done so far. We just did the West region and the South region. We still got the East and the Midwest.
No problems here.
In the East region, we got number 1 seed Baylor
Ooh,
taking on number 16 seed Norfolk State.
Baylor.
Let's move on. Like I said, it's just so unlikely that a 16 seed beats a 1 seed. It's just very unlikely.
Norfolk State.
So then we got the 8-9 matchup is another intriguing one.
Ooh, Marquette.
North Carolina versus Marquette. You want to go with Marquette here?
Well, I don't. I think it's intriguing though. I'll go with the Tar Heels just because of I love Jordan, so I'll root for them. So Tar Heels.
All right, Carolina it is. Move Carolina over. They're the 8 seed. Okay, then we got number 5 St. Mary's taking on the winner of Wyoming, Indiana.
Hmm.
St. Mary's is a very, very good basketball team that plays in the same conference as Gonzaga. And they actually just beat Gonzaga a couple weeks ago in one of the last regular season games before the conference tournament started. But then Gonzaga returned that favor in the conference tournament final by beating them. But they are a
This is
good
tough.
team. They're the second best team in that conference by far. And this is an at-large bid they got. They did not get an automatic bid. So this team was good enough to get an at-large bid and be a 5 seed. So let's put that into perspective. But Wyoming or Indiana? Indiana, I think, would be a tougher matchup for St. Mary's. But
Being that the thing is, being that Indiana's not in right now, I can't pick them. And if they don't go in, it's so I'm going to go with St. Mary's out of reluctancy. I really want to go with Indiana, but because they're not fully in the tournament, they still have a playing game.
yeah, I know what you mean there. So then we got the 4 and 13 seed, 4-13 matchup here in the East region. We got
UCLA.
UCLA versus Akron. UCLA is the 4 seed. Akron is the 13 seed.
UCLA.
UCLA all the way on that one. I believe that's going to be a blowout.
I mean, Akron. Come on.
We got the 6-11 matchup. The Texas Longhorns, number 6 seed in this East region, versus the Virginia Tech Hokies, who just won their won the ACC tournament against Duke last night.
I think that's going to carry them into beating Texas.
You think? I can see that happening.
I think when you win a big game like that, it's a team like you don't want to, like if they lost and they were still getting in, I would be like probably not. But you beat a big team like Duke, and known team, regardless of what their ranking is, I think that's carrying you in. So I'm going to use that momentum, and they beat Texas.
Well, all right. I support that decision. And then we got the number 3-14 matchup here, the Purdue Boilermakers versus Yale out the Ivy League.
Good luck, Yale, but not this year.
You're not showing your Connecticut team no love, bro, on this
Listen. Look, there's one Connecticut team that we know is good. Purdue.
All right, man. Purdue. I like Purdue in this matchup as well.
Yale.
Yale did have a really good season.
If this was like
they knocked off
spelling
Princeton
bee
in the conference Ivy League conference final earlier today.
If it was a trivia or spelling bee, Yale, I'm going with you every day of the week. When it comes to basketball, I'll take Purdue.
And now we got the 7-10 matchup. We got they're the 7 seed Murray State out of the Ohio Valley Conference, but they also Murray State is also the 22nd ranked team in the nation. So they were in the top 25. So even if they didn't win their conference tournament, they were going to get an at-large bid regardless. And they are playing the third team out of the West Coast Conference, the San Francisco, whatever they're called, University of San Francisco. But that's another team out of the same conference Gonzaga and St. Mary's plays in. That's what I'm saying. That conference is starting to emerge as a power conference, as they have 2 teams getting at-large bids, and Gonzaga, who won the conference tournament. So that's 3 teams in from the West Coast Conference, when that once upon a time was absolutely unheard of.
I don't even know the San Francisco team's name, so just for that reason, I'm going with Murray State.
Well, you gonna go with Murray State on this one? Okay, I support that one. Murray State had a tremendous season out of the Ohio Valley Conference, so we'll move them on to the second round. And then in the 2-15 matchup here, we got the Kentucky Wildcats taking on St. Peter's out of the MAAC Conference, whatever that even stands for.
I'll go with Kentucky.
Without much thought, we'll go with Kentucky on that one. All right.
I don't even know the other team's name. I've never heard of it. Does it exist?
So now we got the now we're down to the second round with these teams. We got the Baylor versus the Tar Heels, man. North Carolina, the 1-8 matchup here. Let me tell you something about Baylor. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. They did manage to have a good showing in the Big 12 tournament, but they are dealing with a lot of injuries, man.
I'm still going to take them, though. I just feel like sometimes talent overcomes injury, and I think Baylor's going to beat North Carolina.
Well, all right. I'll support that decision. We'll moving on Baylor on to the Sweet 16. Now
Logan, this is why we don't play for money.
We got a 5-4 matchup here with St. Mary's versus UCLA.
Why you got to make it so close?
This St. Mary's team is dangerous.
I'm just out of upsets. I'm going to go with St. Mary's.
St. Mary's?
Yep.
We'll move them on. St. Mary's setting up a St. Mary's Baylor matchup in the Sweet 16. All right, down here now we got the Virginia Tech Hokies versus the Purdue Boilermakers. Virginia Tech is an 11 seed, and the Purdue Boilermakers are a 3 seed.
Who seed? What seed?
Purdue is the 3 seed. Virginia Tech is the 11 seed.
Oh, go with Purdue. Purdue chicken.
Go with Purdue? Purdue lost a heartbreaker to Iowa today in the Big Ten championship game. So
damn it, Mac, I don't care. I'm going with
No, I'm saying they should be playing some inspired basketball next week when the tournament starts, and that could help propel them on a run because they had a very good season. They're a very good basketball team.
Listen, I don't know much about that other than that Vodtech is going to get stomped out by Purdue.
Now we got the Kentucky Wildcats versus Murray State in a 2-7 matchup that will be fun to watch.
Murray State versus Kentucky. Man, Mac, cool. What is your thoughts? I'll let you pick. I picked enough teams already.
I like this Murray State basketball team. I really
do.
Then
that's where we're going.
And, yeah, I'm with that. I support that they will find a way to outlast Kentucky in the second round of this game, this second round matchup, and move on to the Sweet 16. Speaking of which, we're at the Sweet 16 pick. So now we have Baylor versus St. Mary's, 1 versus a 5. Like I said, Baylor's dealing with a lot of injuries, man.
You know what?
Some of their big time players that helped them get there are just not. They're not going to be available.
I think this is where Baylor kind of the wheels fall off the wagon. St. Mary's advances.
You want to advance St. Mary's here to the Elite 8? I will support that.
I just think, you made it through NC State. That'll be a big emotional game with the Tar Heels. And then you play St. Mary's, who will probably be a little healthier. That's why I think they'll win.
Well, this will be awesome if this happens, because this will be – now we got the Purdue Boilermakers versus Murray State.
Oh. Interesting.
I think this is where the wheels could fall off for Murray State. Like I said,
Yeah, I
Purdue
think
is
I'm
a
going to go
real
with Purdue
talented
here.
basketball team.
I'm gonna ride Purdue. I think, like you said, Murray State's wheels going to fall off, and I just think they're going to be, they're going to be playing inspired basketball, like you said. So
Yeah, I agree with that decision. So now we got the Elite Eight matchup here in this region, the regional finals. Who's going to win? Who's going to win the East? We got it down to number 5 seed St. Mary's and number 3 seed Purdue.
ooh, what
Who's
a
going to
matchup!
the
Pretty
Final
even.
Four?
Pretty even. My gut is telling me to go with Purdue. My heart is telling me to go with St. Mary's. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
I agree though. I would go with Purdue here in this matchup
Right. So
and
that's why I
propel
want to go
Purdue
with.
into the Final Four, representing the Big Ten. So right now we have a 1 seed in the Final Four, we have a 2 seed in the Final Four, and we have a 3 seed in the Final Four.
Let's get a 4 seed.
Well, we'll see. I don't know who the 4 seed is in the Midwest, but we about to find out because we're going to start the Midwest region right now.
Yes.
And at the top of this region, the number 1 seed Kansas Jayhawks taking on the winner on I think Tuesday night between Texas Southern out of the where's Texas Southern from? Out of the SWAC, out of their black college, one of the black colleges out of the SWAC conference, and they're taking on and that matchup is they're taking on the Texas A&M Corpus Christi team out of the Southland Conference.
Kansas. I mean, I don't. It's taking us longer to get through the names of these teams than it will Kansas beating them on whatever day they play.
That I foresee that whoever wins that game Tuesday night going on to get absolutely blown out Thursday by Kansas. We got an 8-9 matchup that is going to be.
Nothing against these colleges. I don't want them to be like, "Hey, that guy Costas he hates on our college now."
We got an 8-9 matchup here. San Diego State number 8 seed versus the number 9 seed Creighton.
Great. Well,
this is going to be an interesting matchup. This is going to be probably one of the most intriguing matchups of the first round.
I'm going to go with San Diego State just because I don't like the name Creighton. Sounds like a Batman criminal, like a Batman villain. I'm going to get Creighton tonight.
All right, you take San Diego State. Creighton likes to run, man.
Well, you know what?
I like them. I like the pick though. I'm okay with the pick.
All right, well then we're gonna do it.
Now we got.
You have more knowledge than me, so And if there was money on the line, I wouldn't be saying a word.
Now we got the 5-12 matchup here. The Iowa Hawkeyes out the Big Ten taking on the Richmond Spiders out of the A-10.
Ooh, I like Richmond. I'll take Richmond.
You take Richmond?
No.
Okay, we'll do that. Let's have some fun with this. We'll take Richmond. Move Richmond on. Even though Iowa just won the Big Ten championship right before we went on the air.
It doesn't matter what if they won. I just like the Spiders, and they're going to weave their web to the next round.
All right. Okay, here we go. Here's number 4.
He's like Adam has lost it.
The number 4 team in this region, the Providence Friars, taking on the South Dakota State, whatever they are. Number 13.
South Dakota State, whatever they are. I'll take Providence.
You'll take Providence in this matchup. I'll take Providence too, but South Dakota State they're a very good basketball team as well, and I would not be shocked if they ended up upsetting Providence.
But see,
matter of fact, when they're doing the selection show earlier, and when they were unveiling the season, they showed Providence was number 4 seed here in the Midwest. You can see the look on the coach's face when they saw they had to play South Dakota State. The coach knows that they got a good team coming at them on. I think this game is going to be on Thursday. And then we got the number 6 seed LSU Tigers versus number 11 seed Iowa State Cyclones. LSU, a little bit of information here. They just got rid of their coach just literally like couple of days ago. So they're going into this tournament with a new coach. a lot of turmoil, but they are still the sixth seed. But Iowa State Cyclones is battle tested as well, coming out of the Big 12. So, who do you like here?
Sure. Mac, you said
Yeah, I hear you.
LSU has a new coach.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with the other team.
Iowa State. I agree. I think LSU is dealing with a lot right now, and unfortunately, I know you love LSU, Logan, man, but they're dealing with a little too much right now. I
But
think. So I'm
yeah,
gonna move
when you
Iowa
have a new
State on
coach,
over.
man, that's tough because you're in the middle of a tournament and you're going to say, okay, well, now we're ushering a new guy, or whether that guy is on your
Yeah.
staff, you know, and you're trying to usher him in days before a tournament starts. Kind of,
So now
tumultuous.
we
Wisconsin.
got the 3-14 matchup here. We got the Wisconsin Badgers also out of the Big Ten, playing against number 14 seed Colgate out of the Patriot League.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Colgate, I think of toothpaste, so no thanks. I will take Wisconsin.
Definitely taking Wisconsin here. I think Wisconsin is just way too big, too physical for Colgate. Numbers, the number 7 seed USC Trojans versus the number 10 seed Miami Hurricanes out the ACC.
Ooh, I like the Hurricanes.
I
I don't
like
know who
what I
I'm going to.
saw. The Hurricanes, Miami, it's been a little up and down this year with them, but they had a decent enough showing in the ACC tournament that got them
I
this
don't know enough
at-large
about
bid.
them. And so for me, I'll just take your word for it. We'll go
Yeah,
with
they took
Miami.
Duke to the wire in the semifinals of the ACC tournament, right to the wire. So, and then they got the number 2 last first round matchup here. We got the number 2 Auburn Tigers versus Jacksonville State out of the Atlantic Sun Conference. And here I want to put some enlightenment here on this one here. Jackson State did not win their conference tournament. They did not win the Atlantic Sun Conference tournament. Jackson State won the Atlantic Sun regular season. And what happened in the tournament was the Bellarmine team that won the Atlantic Sun tournament, they were not eligible for the NCAA tournament because they are a team that is transitioning from Division II to Division I, and there's a 4-year window in which teams that are doing that are not eligible for postseason action. So the Bellarmine team, a school out of Kentucky, is actually the team that won this conference, the Atlantic Sun, and they should be in this spot right here, honestly, taking on Auburn. But because of this rule and this technicality, Jacksonville State, a team that's not Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville State is a team in Alabama. Since they won the regular season, they get the bid from the Atlantic Sun Conference. So who do you got here? Auburn, Jacksonville
I'm going to
State.
go with Auburn. I just think Jackson State wasn't meant to be here. So I just think Auburn is going to show them why they shouldn't be here. And
agree.
Logan, to answer your question, no, I don't think Colgate is a just toothbrush. I'm saying the college Colgate, which I know is a college. I was making a joke.
All right, now we got these second round picks, man. We got the number 1 seed Kansas Jayhawks taking on the San Diego State Aztecs.
I got to go with
They are.
Kansas.
Going with Kansas here, I agree with that 100%. Kansas is playing very good basketball as of late. Won the
I
Big
just can't
12
see. I
tournament.
just can't see them beating them.
Got number 1 seed, and I think they're definitely going to pull that off. Now we got the number 12 Richmond Spiders versus number 4 Providence Friars.
This is where Providence advances. Here, I think Richmond, they get their upset, and then Providence, you're going on. You're welcome.
I agree with that. Richmond had to make an upset just to get to the tournament.
Right.
Like I said, they weren't favored to win their conference.
But see, Max, sometimes I think that momentum works in basketball. It doesn't work in every sport. Baseball, I would not. But basketball, sometimes, you hit a run, right? You get on a little run, your shooters shoot well, and next thing you know, you're in the next round. So.
Totally agree with you, Adam. And then here we got the Iowa State Cyclones versus the Wisconsin Badgers.
Ooh.
Number 11 seed Iowa State, number 3 Wisconsin.
I think Wisconsin's going to take it. I really do.
So
I
you
know
like
the
Wisconsin
team,
here in this spot?
yes.
I like Wisconsin too, man. They're just like I said, they're a pretty good basketball team out the Big Ten, man. Like I said, the most represented conference in this tournament, the Big Ten, with 9 teams. I think that may be the first time they've ever had the most teams.
I wouldn't be
And
surprised if they win the tournament.
it
Like they
wouldn't
win
totally shock me.
one
And
of the
now
Big
we
Ten
got the
teams.
number 2 Auburn Tigers versus the number 10 Miami Hurricanes.
I'm going to go with Auburn.
I agree with that. Auburn, I felt like Auburn might have maybe should have even gotten a top seed instead of Baylor, but I don't pick I'm not on the selection committee. I don't
It's
I
not
don't
your
have
job.
it's not my job exactly. It's above my pay rate.
Man,
But
if they would only pay us the right compensation, we can make better matchups,
But now here we go to the Sweet 16, man. And we got the number 1 Kansas Jayhawks, number 4 Providence Friars.
As much as I want to see 4 go, I think Kansas is on a mission.
I agree. 100% agree. Too much Kansas.
Yep.
Just cannot pick Providence over them right now.
It's like sometimes you look at it like this, Mac. When you have talent and you meet a smaller school, they don't have the talent pool that they need to play with a team like this. So for me, the experience, the talent is what takes over in the Kansas game.
Well, this is the first reason it's like we had all the top 4 teams make it this far.
Right.
Because next matchup, we got number 3 Wisconsin versus number 2 Auburn.
Ooh.
It's gonna be
Good
interesting
matchup. I'm gonna go with Wisconsin here. I don't know why. I'm just gonna do it.
Hey, I'm not mad at you.
I know
Wisconsin,
Auburn. I know you said Auburn should have been here, should have been number 1 seed, but all these teams are good. They're in here for a reason, right?
Absolutely agree.
And
So now here in the
me,
Elite 8, in the regional final of the Midwest, we got the Kansas Jayhawks versus the Wisconsin Badgers. The 1 seed Kansas Jayhawks, the number 3 seed Wisconsin Badgers.
I really want to pick an upset here, but I can't. I'm going to go with Kansas.
I think I agree with you, man. I can see. So we got our Final 4 set. We got Gonzaga out the West. We got Villanova out the South. We got Purdue out the East, and we got Kansas out the Midwest. First matchup, Final 4 matchup. We got Gonzaga versus Purdue.
I'm going to go with Gonzaga because that was the team, so I'm obviously going to favor them to win.
All right. I definitely support you there. And then we got Villanova. To the other side of that, we got Villanova versus Kansas.
Just because it's your team, I'm going with Villanova. I know people are going to be crazy, and normally you don't fill out a bracket like this, but just because you're my co-host and you're rooting for this team, I'm going to pick them right here.
That's what we're going to do, man. I like Gonzaga. So we got Gonzaga versus Villanova for the national championship on April 4th, man. Who you got, Adam?
And here's where Villanova's Cinderella season ends, as Gonzaga will host the championship that they so long desired.
I actually agree with that.
Wow.
I think this is Gonzaga's year finally, man. They've been getting so close, so I think they're finally going to get over that hump, man.
Well, that was fun.
So we're going to go ahead and submit that.
And we'll see how it goes, people, throughout our weeks on air. We're going to give you an update as if our brackets get busted or if they don't get busted or who ends up in the final game. This will be fun to kind of keep pace with going forward. Mac, thanks for doing this.
Oh, it was fun, man. I was glad. I'm glad we had a good time doing it, man. And I'm guessing we can get ready to wrap this show on up, man. It's been a fun 2 hours, man. 2.5 hours.
Wow, that went by pretty quick, man. I mean, think about it, We did a lot of stuff today, talked about it. The bracket, I think, was great. I had a great time, man. Really appreciate it.
I'm sorry about my technical difficulties earlier, man.
It's all right, man. This is what happens when we do podcasts. Things happen. I did my best to carry the show as you were gone. I talked to myself normally, so it was just me talking to myself while I waited for you to come on and save the show, because obviously no one wants to listen to me. But, you you're the man. So, and you brought up this great bracket. I love it. It's great, and I look forward to seeing how it plays out.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. I'll keep an eye on that and see. I mean, I know we had a couple of homer picks in there, but that's what we do. This is what we do as fans, and that's
Right.
why we fill out brackets, man. I mean, this is a great time. This is not going to be the only bracket I fill out. I do
Right.
this, man, every year. I fill them out, all kind of different results, man. Just having a good time. I want to thank everybody in the chat, Logan, AK, man. You stopped by, man, for a minute. I mean, Jeff earlier, everybody that was here in the chat earlier. Really appreciate the love, man, support. Thanks for being a good moderator, Logan, getting that Nazi up out of here. Miz, appreciate you stopping through, bro. And everybody else, Super Taj, anybody else that I might have missed. But, yeah, great show, Adam, man. Always a pleasure working with you, man.
And I look forward to next season. I know you got the NFC show. I know I'm going to drop this news for everybody that Mac and I are going to do the NFC show together. I'm honored to be a part of it. And I look forward to this fall with Mac Wednesday nights talking to you guys about the NFC East. Let's go.
Everything NFC East, the real deal NFC East roundup. Coming this fall and back this fall. We may do a couple off-season episodes too. Just work out some stuff and see, get more news about everybody, all the other teams, get a little more news built up. We can do a good show maybe this off-season too, before the season gets underway. But thanks a lot and for joining us on this episode of Premium Takes. Next week, episode 12 will be on Zion Zenith's channel. We hope as long as he gets himself situated and everything is okay. So if not, it'll be on Adam's channel. but one way or another, you're still getting Premium Takes next week, next Sunday. Probably be a little earlier, but you'll get Premium Takes next Sunday again, man. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate y'all, man. Adam, man. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Just thanks for holding it down here.
Absolutely, man. It's always my pleasure, man. And so this is Mac the Giants fan. This is my co-host Adam Costas, man. Peace. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants fan. That's MACDA Giants fan.